TikTok time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all you whiners and complainers. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Dylan T.I., who said David's making it real hard to pity him for getting temp banned when he's late for his own streams. Well, no one asked you for your pity at all. There's no pity. We just go to war, and we won. We won. They fixed it. It is, yeah. For anyone who wasn't watching, they took down our stream. We were almost at the end. We probably had maybe 15 or 20 minutes left in our live stream or something like that the other day. What was that? 2 days ago? Yeah, and then they took it down because there was. We were watching a TikTok video, but the stupid AI bots can't tell the difference between you watching a TikTok video and you being whatever's happening in that TikTok video. And so they thought that we were violating a YouTube policy when we were just watching a video, and so they took it down. That's kind of understandable, although you wish they had a better system in place that didn't suck and take your stuff down when it's their mistake. So, but anyway, it's not perfect, so can't be too ticked off about that. They use bots and so on. But then you appeal. That's supposed to go to a human reviewer. Human reviewer said, "No, you did violate the policy." And so I found it's easier to talk to. Oddly enough, it's easier to talk to the YouTube Trust and Safety team on X than it is on YouTube. So went over to X, got the attention of Team YouTube there. They said they'd look into it. Next day, they got back to me and said, "Yes, we confirm that you did violate this and you were doing that." And anyway, everyone helped raise a little ruckus. I went and screenshotted everything, put it all into a thread and stuff like this and started making fun of them. And then they said they'd look into it again. And, then they fixed it all. That was a side issue of they also weren't allowing me to live stream, even though it was officially, since it was like first offense on this channel, there was no penalty. They did nothing. They just said no penalty since you may not have even been aware of this. And yet I went to set up a live stream and it wouldn't let me. It said you're banned from live streaming. Like, what the heck? So that was a separate issue. So for that, I actually contacted the tech support over at YouTube, and they said they'd figure out what went wrong. But anyway, both problems got resolved.
Nice.
Yeah, the sucky part, and the part that's real messed up, is the only reason that got fixed is, I got enough people following me on X and stuff that I can raise a ruckus and a bunch of people will jump in. And so like it really sucks for like new channels or smaller channels that can't raise a ruckus because once they say we've already reviewed it and too bad, they're not even going to look into it again. You're not going to be able to get them to look into it. Whereas, everyone complaining and stuff like that made them look into it again, and then they fixed it. But so it does suck. They got a screwed up system, man. Screwed up system.
Yeah. Oh, hey, thank God that it worked out and we got it back live streaming again. So pretty sweet.
Yeah, and today we've got the Dawa Wars, man. The Dawa Wars.
Yeah, some more Dawa Wars. I feel like every couple of years, it's this particular topic that really gets them. And I'm surprised to see kind of the players on each side. Right now it's Mohammed Hijab, but who knows who's going to join his corner. And
the people going after him are traditionally his buddies. And
that's what I'm saying. It's like, so it's kind of like surprising to see Mohammed Hijab taking this position that he's taking. And
Oh yeah, it is. We're gonna check that out. But yeah, when you were saying like this keeps coming up, I thought you were talking about like the Dawa Wars. First of all,
they do. Every now and then.
It's like every week there's another Dawa war, right? Yeah. Just like something will set them off, and they'll all start attacking each other. And these are the same guys. Oh, we're gonna unite and take over the world and bring back the caliphate with all our unity. And you guys can't agree on any topic for 5 seconds.
Yeah, so the Dawa wars happen all the time, but this particular topic, I've noticed it kind of like resurfaces every now and then, and we're actually going to see that from some of the clips that we have today, like some of the, what's team a couple of Dawa guys are on and what they're going to be arguing for. But what I've noticed is that their only concern is obviously, did Muhammad marry Aisha at the age of 6 and then consummate the marriage at the age of 9 or not? That's what they care about. That's the only thing that they care about. And then everything else is just something in addition to that. So usually what happens is you gather evidence and then you come to a conclusion based on the evidence. What they're doing is they are coming to the conclusion that Muhammad did this, so therefore there must be some reason why it was allowed. So was it culturally the norm? And then they look for things like historically, or like or this king did this back in this day, and this king of England did that. Like they'll try to like force reasons for like why this is actually normal, and try to like gaslight you into thinking this is something normal. And so they'll try to they'll try to like fabricate evidence and come up with different arguments. Like, isn't it the case? And we're going to see some of these arguments like contradicting each other today, because they'll be like saying things like children back then, it didn't last as long because children grew a lot faster back then. They matured a lot faster.
It's actually the opposite.
Mentally. It's the opposite. Yep. But that's one of the arguments that they use. But like what I'm saying is that they would never use that argument unless Muhammad did this. So they're trying to kind of like fabricate evidences and things like that to make it seem like it was normal. But really, the only question is, did Muhammad do this or not? And so if you say, actually, he didn't do that, like actually Aisha wasn't 9 years old when they consummated marriage, then you don't need to, waste your time with like, what were the norms of marriage in the 7th century, and like you don't have to talk about all these different things. Oh, don't you know in this state you can marry this age, or this person did this, and those are all distractions. Yeah,
you don't need to be. If you can just say, well, Muhammad, and I haven't been reading all the back and forth. I've just seen it pop up and stuff, and that's why we're here. We're going to go ahead and look through the messages back and forth. But with hijab, I would guess, just based on knowing him, that he doesn't really take it seriously that she may have not been 9, but he wants to raise it because if it's a possibility that she wasn't, well, you don't need to defend it, right? Like you were saying, they have all these, well, look at this king, look at that, and all their responses are stupid. It's actually like seriously borderline hilarious when they're like, oh, but other ancient cultures and the Romans and the Jews and even the Christians, they allowed marriage to minors, and it's like, everyone set a minimum age of 12. So Muhammad wouldn't have met anyone's standards, right? He'd have been in trouble with any of these people, and they set 12 because that's usually post-pubescent. In Islam, the Quran, prepubescent, Aisha, prepubescent. So you're in it. Whatever you think, you're in a different category. In other words, that is not helping you. You could grant. Yep, 12 back in the day, and that wasn't what was medically in the best interest of the girl or her potential offspring. But they didn't know. They didn't have the medical knowledge that we have now, and so they're kind of doing the best that we could. But Muhammad wouldn't even live up to that we would look back and say, you guys should have been waiting longer. It would have been safer for the girls, and again, their potential offspring would have been safer if you'd waited longer. But you didn't know. But with Islam, it's, well, you'd expect Allah to know, because he's the one who says, doesn't matter even if she's prepubescent, and if he is presenting Muhammad as his pattern of conduct, well, he obviously, he knows the medical data. Allah knows the medical data. And so he's deliberately picking a guy who is setting a standard for doing serious harm to girls. That is, it's beyond what any of these other like ancient cultures that we're talking about did.
Yeah.
And so, if for hijab, he knows what happened. He knows what Muhammad did. And he's just realizing, hey, if I can just say, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, then you don't have to defend it, because when it comes up, hey, I'm not saying she was older, but maybe she was, and therefore you can't criticize it because we don't know. Maybe she was older, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, and so like I'm not trying to discourage people from looking into those things and getting like, good in those arguments. Like, okay, what were the marital norms at that day and age? And like, you can learn a little bit about like biology and healthiest and safest, and you can, that's good. But it's like, I feel okay, like I'll give you an example. I was talking to a Muslim doctor about camel urine being a treatment for some sort of disease, and the best he could come up with was, okay, I agree with you that there's no known cure that, camel urine offers today, but that doesn't rule out the fact that there could have been like some phantom disease back then that we don't know about anything about today, that we're like, he's like, you can't rule it out as a possibility. Like it's possible that there was something. So I'm like, but you know how ridiculous that sounds, and there's absolutely no evidence for that whatsoever. But there's an instance where there's absolutely no evidence for this whatsoever, that camel urine actually is a medicine for anything. I mean, consuming it, drinking it. And and there's no evidence that Muslims can point to and use that and say like, hey, here's why Muhammad might have, suggested camel urine here. So that's an instance where, again, they don't care about what the evidence points to, because there's no evidence for that whatsoever. But Muhammad actually said it, so they have to like come up with like, oh, there's a phantom disease that we don't, it could have possibly, And then you have other instances where it's like, I don't know, just think of any example where like, the evidence, there's no evidence for that position whatsoever, and yet Muslims will still take but they kind of like, they'll force you to like, who wants to research articles about like, the negative health effects of drinking camel urine? It's like the only reason why we're doing that is because they're trying to defend it.
Who doesn't?
Right?
We all want to just research that all day.
Yeah. And so they force us, or, people that criticize Islam and trying to, we're praying that the Lord will open up their eyes, and if, that he'll use these evidences to show that this is why Islam can't be true. And that, we pray that God uses those efforts and that he, opens their eyes with that. But it's like, these guys are just wasting time pretending that they care about what the evidence says. Like, they don't care if there's evidence that people used to marry at, age 6 in the 7th century or not. They just care that Muhammad did it. And that's what this really proves, because Mohammed Hijab used to take the position very proudly, be like, oh, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm unashamed of it. Well, it seems really clear now that he is ashamed. Mm-hmm. And even though he's not positing that, he's not saying that she wasn't, 9 years old when the marriage was consummated, but he's saying that there's a possibility she wasn't, which means that you can't argue the truthfulness of the truthfulness of Islam can't hinge on this as an argument or not. You can't use it as an argument, moral argument against Islam, because it's not necessarily the case that Muhammad did that. So you can't base your rejection of Islam off of that. That's what he's saying, but really it comes down to him being ashamed that his prophet did that. Out of all those years that we heard Muslims say, we're not ashamed of this, we're not ashamed of this, we're not ashamed of this, they're deeply ashamed of this. So whenever things like this happen, it tells us, like to everybody, this is what we should focus on and this is what we should keep pressing, because they're telling you this is what we're uncomfortable with and this is what we don't like to deal with, and so this is what we should keep pressing. Force them to deal with it. Force them to deal with it.
Yeah, and so two things. One, we already mentioned that if people are blasting away at Islam by this, and you can say, well, maybe she wasn't actually that young and we don't actually know how old she was, then you can kind of evade the criticism. But the other thing is, I think they're picking up on, do you really want to be the huge religious group that constantly defends marriage to prepubescent girls? Do you want to be those guys, like always? Because that's the position they're forced into now, because everyone, atheists, Christians, Jews, everyone's pointing to that, Muhammad and Aisha, and they're having to defend it. And but what about this king? What about that king? And they're having to lie. Rebecca was 3 and stuff like that, making up lies and so on. But people are catching on to all the lies, and people are just like repulsed by this. And so I think hijab's picking up on we're becoming the religion of pedos in everyone's eyes. And do we really want to do this? So maybe we need to take another direction. So he's going to go ahead and try this there. But yeah, you're right with
the PR guy. The PR guy, he's like, his brain is finally like the light finally turned on, that like everything he was doing up until this point is making Islam look terrible, and he's like trying to fix it now. So
he's going to fix it, and then he'll be the hero. Then he'll be the hero, not the zero. But but you're right. That other thing that they do is, well, it's possible that there was a mistake. And you've got all these other Muslims, they don't want to grant the possibility, because if you've got the possibility that you've got, and there are over 200 hadiths that give the age of Aisha, over 200. So if you're granting the possibility that these are wrong and that Aisha was so dumb that she didn't even know how old she was. You're casting doubt on the whole system, and on her and on her knowledge, and on later people, her her later relatives and so on, who are sharing information about her. And it's that heads in the direction that Yasser Qadhi was saying is standard among non-Muslims when they look at Hadith methodology. He said there's not an academic anywhere in the world who takes this methodology seriously.
No.
None of them. There's none. And so if Muslims themselves start, well, we don't really know if we can trust all these dozens and dozens and dozens of Sahih narrations, maybe they're all wrong, and maybe the people didn't know anything, and maybe they didn't even know their ages and stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay, well, why would we even... You're granting that we shouldn't trust your system. You're granting it that your system's all screwed up and is giving people completely wrong ideas and shouldn't be trusted. It's like, so anyway, they don't want to grant the possibility because that leaves room for doubts. And oh, how great would it be for him to walk in and talk to Sheikh Asim al-Hakim, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the certainty. You don't have the certainty. Get out of my house, you kafir. Yeah. He'd call Mohammed Hijab a kafir. Based on what he's saying right here, he'd totally call Mohammed Hijab a kafir and kick him out of his house.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but so you've got the guys, they don't want to grant the doubt, even on like the age of Aisha. They don't want to grant the doubt because they understand that leads people to doubt the sources and the reliability of the sources. They don't want to grant the doubt, but Muslims are always happy to go with just a possibility. Like if you, and I keep seeing this everywhere, right? So me and IP, we just made videos about Muhammad and their favorite prophecy historically about Muhammad in the Bible, Deuteronomy 18:18, prophet like Moses, right? And so you do all these things and you say, okay, look, verse 15, it specifically says, from among you, from among you. He's talking to the Israelites, and he says, from among you, and he says, from your brethren. They like to go with the from your brother and say, it's the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites are not, that's not, Ishmael. Oh my goodness, that's stupid. Well, they're relatives, so they're brothers. Yeah, you can call other groups brothers in some sense. That's not what it means in the context of Deuteronomy. Whenever it's unqualified, from among your brethren, look there every single time it's talking about your fellow Israelites. And so, but in verse 15, it specifically says, from among you, right? You guys. That's where the prophet's going to come from. But you look at how they respond. They're like, but this manuscript doesn't have from you, which scholars interpret that as, because they regarded it as redundant. So you had a scribe who regarded this as redundant, right? From you, from your brother. It means the exact same thing, right? But they'll go with, so maybe the original did not have that in it. And it's like, wait a minute, that's a minority position. It was a minority of people who would think that wasn't in there, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but they'll say that possibility, and well, here's a scholar who says this, and if you combine it with this, and it's like this extreme minority position, and this, well, it's possible to read it this way, and this, well, maybe it means that, and this will maybe, and you put it all together, and it's like, this argument was meant for us. It was supposed to be a convincing argument to us. We're supposed to open our sources and find Muhammad in our sources. And it's not, well, you can do all kinds of gymnastics and maybe, possible, maybe. Weird German scholar said this. Another weird German scholar said that. This said this. And we found a manuscript that says this. And if you put it all together, well, it's possible. If you grant this like slim, tiny chance in every one of these. Look, guys, we have to do mathematics. We have to do mathematics here at some point. I have to explain how probability works, right? Like if you say, well, there's a 1 in 100 chance of this, and a 1 in 10 chance of that, and a 1 in 50 chance of this, and a 1 in 700 chance of this, and a 1 in 7,000 chance of this, and their response is, so you're telling me there's a chance? That's good enough for us. That's the proof. And it's like in probability, you would multiply all of those, right? You would multiply all those, and you get something like, what are the odds that this is talking about Muhammad? Oh, I don't know, 1 in 700 trillion. Like, so you're saying there's a chance. This is the proof. And that's how they operate, like on every single issue. It's just if they can show that there is a mere possibility. If it is not logically impossible, we're supposed to grant that this is the proof. And it's like, what sort of idiotic system produces that kind of thinking? If there's some remote possibility, no matter how utterly, completely improbable, then we're supposed to grant it as the proof. And like, what is this religion that makes you think like that? But yeah, it's all related. It'll be related on this. 200 plus sources all saying this, and but maybe. And you look at, and I haven't seen what Hijab is saying about all this, but I'm familiar with, the ones from 10 and 15 years ago when they were still running. Oh, she wasn't 9. She was actually 19. But it's the same thing. It's if you take this and grant that weird source that no one trusts otherwise is correct and everyone else is wrong, and you combine it with this weird source that, by the way, all these sources say she was 9, right? That they're taking something out of there, and this, well, Aisha went and watched the battle, and we know that men weren't allowed to take part in a battle unless they were this age. And so if Aisha was watching the battle, then we'll say the same rule applied. And like, where are you getting that from? There's nothing that says you can't watch a battle or something like that. But so anyway, notice it would be a mere possibility with no evidence supporting it that when a male could participate in a battle, that they're applying the same rule to a girl simply watching the battle. And well, therefore, and it's like, wait, I mean, there's no evidence for that, and it seems stupid, but I can't say it's impossible. Ha ha! You see, and then they'll take all these slim possibilities, and then say, you see, we have no idea how old she was. It's like, that's not how it works, right? You guys have over 200 sources saying how old she was, and then you're like, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that. The only serious response to the age of Aisha is just that the sources are complete made up garbage. That's it. And that's Joshua Little, which they pointed to when they found out an Oxford educated scholar was saying, we don't know how old Aisha was. Now you had the revisionists all running with that. This Oxford guy, he said, we don't know how old she was. Yeah, look at it. He says the entire system is complete garbage. Saying you can't know. He's saying these guys were making stuff up left and right. You can't believe anything, almost anything. You have to do some serious historical investigation to get anything reliable from these sources. And it's like, and I'll grant that. If you grant that, if you bite the bullet on that one and just say our sources are complete garbage and you can't trust them because Muslims were the biggest bunch of the Muslims who are doing history were the biggest bunch of liars the world has ever seen. I'll agree. Then we don't know how old Aisha was, but we don't know pretty much anything about Muhammad. And so don't tell me about your prophet anything based on those sources if they're that unreliable.
Yeah, and then so you start thinking about like that, and they start trying to think deeper and deeper and deeper, and like, okay, well, wait a minute, what are these? Yeah, not in this sense. And then they realize that, wait a minute, these hadith come down to us the same way the Quran comes down to us. So it's like once you start going down that road, it's like Islam is done. You can't trust anything in the hadith. And Mohammed Hijab is going to talk about there being some scholars who actually do reject things that are in Bukhari. Like not everything in Bukhari is without criticism and without rejection from some scholars. And but the thing is, if you go to those scholars, they're not talking about the age of Aisha, for example. They're not talking about that. So it's like the ones that he's going to, he's like trying to make a precedent.
Yeah, it's very particular stuff that they'll say.
Yeah,
it's basically situations where they say, we have very good reason to have doubt about what this hadith is saying.
Yes.
And it's because of other things that we know from our sources that cast some doubt upon what's here. It's not just, we got hundreds of sources saying that she was this age and nothing saying that she was older, but
but you see, Mohammed Hijab, he fell into that trap that we were just warning about, which is that, hey, some scholars are critical of like a couple hadith in Bukhari, so therefore anything is on the table now, even though those scholars are not saying
anything you don't like. Anything you don't like. Anything that the Islamophobes will use against Islam, you just say, wait a minute, not all the hadiths are reliable.
Yeah.
Not all the hadiths. So it's like we used to talk about the weak hadith defense, and it was because if you brought up a hadith to a Muslim like 10 years ago, before people knew where to go on sunnah.com, you got the grades right there and stuff like that. Any criticism, you just, that's a weak hadith. Mm-hmm. And so, people would ask, okay, well, I brought this up to my Muslim friend and he said it's a weak hadith. What do I do? Because, a person who's learning something from the hadith, learning a criticism, they don't know hadith methodology. And so if a Muslim just says, it's a weak hadith, then they wouldn't know how to respond. You say, so you we tell them, hey, you say, okay, what respected authoritative Muslim scholar on Hadith, on the issue of Hadith, says that this is a weak Hadith. And so we'd say that, and then we'd say, if you go to websites like sunnah.com, fortunately, once they had that, then we could say, you've got the grades right there. But what hijab's doing is like a variation of that. It's because they can object from their perspective. We don't trust their methodology. So if a historian would approach hadiths completely differently from the way they do, right? Historians would be applying things like, okay, how many sources do you have on this? How many of them seem to be independent? They're coming from other people. They'd apply principles like the principle of embarrassment. Does this look like something that someone would make up? Is there a good reason to make something like this up, or do we not see any reason to make this up? In which case, that would kind of make you think, okay, well, it looks like it might be authentic, and so on. So historians would approach this very differently. So when they say weak hadith, we don't have to take that seriously. I mean, from a historian's perspective, all hadiths are weak in the sense that it's a garbage methodology. So that people don't respect actual historians don't respect their silly methodology. But from their perspective, if a hadith is actually weak, you're not supposed to build any sort of doctrine or practice on that hadith. Keep in mind, weak hadith doesn't mean it's false. They would grant, oh yeah, maybe it's true. It's just we can't trust that to like build our religion on,
or make like a legal ruling off of it, or
and so what you have now is the hijab variation that if even hadiths in our most reliable collections with what we regard as our most airtight methodology, if even some of those are under investigation and in question, then anytime they object, there's always the possibility that this hadith is not authentic. And so it's like the possibility that it's some sort of weak hadith, and that's going to be enough. And it's like, dude, are you joking? But I kind of like this direction, right? Because what he's doing and this argument that's gonna come out of it is it's going to cause Muslims to doubt their hadiths.
It is. And that's going to be a huge problem. And you pointed out before, like another example of when like a Muslim scholar and a just historian who's not like a Muslim historian, just like someone just doing academics as a historian, they might come to a similar conclusion. Like if they think that a particular hadith is inauthentic, but it's for completely different reasons. And we've spoken about before, like with textual criticism, for example, like there are certain principles within textual criticism which a textual critic who's trained in textual criticism will say this is probably the most likely reading for this, for this reason. Maybe it's it wouldn't, like maybe like you said, reasons of like maybe embarrassing, or maybe it doesn't make, the other one seems to make more sense or whatever. And it seems like you kind of would assume that the reading that makes more sense, or doesn't seem as problematic, would be like the one less likely that was original, and then like the invented or like the variant would be like kind of like trying to help or whatever, like say but the Muslims weren't doing that. The Muslims were saying the opposite. They were saying like, well, this reading makes more sense, therefore that's the more authentic reading. So but sometimes you have cases where like, you have the historian being like, oh, this seems like the more authentic reading. And then you have like a Muslim scholar saying this seems like the more authentic reading, but it's for completely different reasons. And so if they want to appeal to the historians, non-Muslim historians for this topic, they're going to walk away, like you said, all the hadith completely destroyed. Right. But they don't have any Muslim scholars who hold to this position, really. Like apart from like this particular day and age that we live in, where Muslims are embarrassed by this. But if you go back like 100 years, whatever, like you're not going to find any Muslim scholars that are saying that oh, maybe Aisha was actually, maybe she was actually 18 when she got married or something like that, based on the sources or something. No, you don't have that. Yeah, but there's also something else I want to say before we get into the videos as well, which is like, this is an issue where you have a lot of cognitive dissonance, because on one hand, you have, Muslims will accept this, that, child marriage is within Islam. And we even see that in the world today. You do see child marriages occurring in parts of the world today. You see it like in Afghanistan, like northern Nigeria, you see it in Yemen, you see it in different parts of the Muslim world, but it's not like a widespread practice, because there's some sort of cognitive dissonance going on here, where on one hand, they're affirming it on a religious basis, but in practice, nobody actually wants to, marry off their 9-year-old daughter. And this happened with, we're going to see a clip from Ali Dawa where his views have kind of evolved on this because of the very reason that his daughters got old. That's my speculation, at least, because of the reasons of his daughters getting older. And he's like, wait, I actually wouldn't do that. But before his daughters were that age, he was like saying, oh yeah, we're going to see it, where he's going to be like, yeah, I'd marry her off, no problem, as long as certain conditions are met, no problem. But Muslims are kind of like this as well when it comes to educating their daughters as well. For example, Daniel Hakiki famously says, like, he doesn't want women to be educated, and then you have like the Taliban who agree with him on that women shouldn't be educated. But these same Muslims demand that when their wife is, let's say having female health problems, or let's say she's giving birth, she's pregnant, they want her to see a female doctor. Well, how is she going to see a female doctor unless you have females that are being educated? So here's the cognitive dissonance, where you have religiously, you don't want women to be educated, but in practice, well, I don't want a man touching my wife. I don't want a man, touch, like, and then she feels ashamed because a man touched her. And most women prefer, female doctors. And there's studies even in the Muslim world where it's like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 women prefer having a, we're talking about like for female health related issues, not just like going because you have a cough or something like that, but like, let's say you're giving birth or you're pregnant or something like that. You want to have females want a female doctor by and large. That's just statistically the fact. That's true in the Muslim world and just the general population as well. But here's the problem: Muslims don't want their woman to be educated. So how are you going to have both of these things being true at the same time? How do you want it that your daughter, or your wife sees a female doctor, OBGYN or whatever, and yet at the same time you don't believe in females being educated? So it's like, we know we want this, but we can't because of religious reasons. And it's the same thing here. We know that Islam teaches child marriage, but we're not like, the average Muslim is never going to practice it. So there's like this cognitive thing happening where it's like they believe it religiously, but in practice they would never do it. So yeah. Oh wait, you're muted. Or
Sorry
am I
about
muted?
that. Yo, I was muted. You mentioned the Ali Dawa clip. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick.
Let's check that out. Yeah.
Here we go.
You asked me, would I allow my daughter to get married at 9? I'm saying the analogy is wrong, because our teachers the woman has to be sexually, mentally, and physically ready. That means
Notice he said our teachers, not Muhammad.
Yeah.
Muhammad didn't say it, and Allah didn't say it. Yeah, your teachers may have said it, but yeah.
that means if my daughter wants to menstruation, hold on, let me finish. If my daughter reached the age of menstruation at 9 years old, I would say you are ready. You are ready to get married.
If my daughter reached the age of menstruation, what's amazing is, as repulsive as he's being right there, he's being better than his God and his prophet. His God and his prophet didn't say you have to wait for puberty, right? But he's at least waiting for puberty, right? That's not what Allah says. In fact, let's go with what Muhammad, because this is sort of the side issue, right? Here, this might want to call this the Mohammed Hijab dilemma or something like that, right? Hijab points out that if you just go with the Quran, if you look just at the Quran, we'll see it. If you just go with the Quran, if you're Quran only, you would conclude that you could have sex with a 5-year-old. You would conclude that, right? Because that's what the Quran says. It just says before puberty, and it's fine. You can marry them, have sex with them, divorce them, all before the age of puberty. So there's no, you have to wait until this time and so on. And so his claim there was the Quran just isn't enough. You have to go to the Hadith, right? And then he wants to go with this harm principle, which is just a general claim that Muhammad says, don't harm people, which you can't use as some blanket statement because these guys like chopping people's heads off and stuff and going to war. So they obviously believe you can harm people. And they believe you could beat your wife and stuff. So it's not like some blanket, don't ever harm anyone. But he interprets it that, so don't harm, therefore you should wait until the girl is, to where you're not gonna do serious harm to her or something like that, which the Muslim scholars interpret as like don't One, they were worried about like a guy, like if she's too small, then he might crush her during sex. You might just crush her while having sex. And the other was they're worried about the two holes becoming one. In other words, you actually tear her open and you just ruin your wife. And then you're going to have to, pay some money and stuff like that to her family because you basically ruined they gave you their daughter and then you basically ruined her for the rest of your life. And now she's got medical issues for the rest of her life. So anyway, that's how they were applying it. But hijab uses it to say, hey, you shouldn't be Quran only because you'd conclude that you could have sex with a 5-year-old. And we don't want to conclude that. Therefore, you have to go to the Hadith. Wait a minute. The Hadith that are now in question, even if you have hundreds of them, even if you have hundreds of Hadiths all saying the same thing, it's still in doubt. Okay, so would that harm principle? You have that harm principle is on way, way, way shakier ground. One, even interpreting what he means, because again, he can't just mean don't ever harm anybody. You can't possibly mean that. So one, you'd have the interpretation, but even with that, you have
and also how would you
way
know?
more. You have way more hadiths about the age of Aisha than you have with this harm principle, and so
yeah. But
why
also,
would you trust
how
that?
would you even test? How would you even test the harm principle? Like you have there certain things you can only know by right. So it's
in
like
other words,
it's
like judgment call of the guy, right? And that guy might one guy might say, I think it's safe. I don't think I'm going to harm her that much.
Yeah.
And so problems. But anyway, let's go ahead and check out that clip from Hijab.
Okay.
That clip from Hijab, and then we'll check out this Muslim here. Because a guy, hey, let me ask you, what's your name? Fairu. Hey, Fairu22. Are you trolling or are you actually serious with this nonsense? And I'm saying that because you're saying something that would have been common like 15 years ago, but we look at it as like almost a joke now, considering how much we've destroyed this. So tell us if you're actually serious. Because this is so, we want you to know the truth. We want you to know how completely stupid and how you're proving our point. We were just talking about Muhammad in Deuteronomy 18:18, and so well maybe this and maybe that and maybe this and this is like this is even worse. This is even worse. Going to John 14 and John 16 as you are. I mean, really, really bad. So tell me if you're trolling. If you're trolling, we've got other stuff to cover. If you're just joking, if you're serious, we'll go and answer it for you real quick. But it's not going to go very well for you. All right, so here's Mohammed Hijab. Mohammed Hijab talking about what the Quran allows.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all.
True.
If you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65,
Oh yeah.
verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ, and the ones who had never been pubescent before. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty.
Oh,
Wait
yeah,
a
check
minute,
this
what
out.
did you say?
What's that?
Look, there's some young Muslim woman sitting right
yeah.
next to him.
Yeah.
When he says something, look at their eyes, look at their faces. They become shocked at what he's about to say. Their faces say it all. Like they don't say anything verbally.
Yeah, he's saying.
But
He's sitting there with these Muslim women, the hijabis here, and he's sitting there saying, according to the Quran, 5-year-old, that's fine. According to the Quran itself.
Watch their faces.
It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahid. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that. The Quran doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. I dare you to find one verse in the Quran where it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. So if you're Quran alone, you're allowed to have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds. Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent. One verse. I want one verse in the Quran from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, which says that she has to be pubescent.
I've just said that.
So okay, so that makes it halal from your
No,
perspective.
no, it doesn't.
From your perspective, it's halal. You know, in the Quran it says, "Hurumat alaykum ummahatukum." It says you're not allowed to marry your mum. It says you're not allowed to marry your sister, your auntie. Where does it say you're not allowed to marry a prepubescent? I'm looking for one verse that you can say, you pinpoint it and say this is where it says prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia, a wife abuse, a severe type of wife abuse.
You guys catch that? He said if you just go with the Quran, you're steered towards not just pedophilia, because that's the Hadith as well, right? A severe type, because you're not talking about like 9 or 10 or something like that. You're talking about 4 and 5, which is exactly what Hakikachu says, right? Hakikachu, it doesn't matter if she's 4 or 5 or something like that. So anyway, but I mean, think about how messed up this is, guys. He's saying you can't just go to the Quran. You'd conclude this extremely messed up thing. Therefore, you have to go to the Hadith. But now he's the one saying you can't even trust. It could be hundreds of Hadiths. You may not be able to even trust those.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're going to trust your little harm principle in your interpretation. So maybe you just go Quran. Maybe you just go with the Quran on that one, and that's according to him will steer you towards a severe type. So that's the awkward position they're in. I have to say, it is weird when you have like this guy like Fairu 22 spamming until I call him and say, okay, is this serious? And then silence, and he's gone.
Disappears.
What is this? Why? Because it was really bad because he was posting John 14 and John 16 and so on, and he posted John 16. Let me pull it up real quick. But this is beyond dumb. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he put 16:7 up here. If I don't go away, the advocate Muhammad will not, he puts Muhammad in parentheses. Muhammad will not come to you. Why didn't he quote the rest of the verse where Jesus says, but if I go, I will send him to you. So this is someone that Jesus sends. Jesus will send the comforter, the advocate. If that's Muhammad, Muslims, tell me, who sends Muhammad?
Yeah.
Allah sends Muhammad. Okay, then Jesus is Allah, because Jesus says he's the one who sends him. All right, great. Then you just admitted that Jesus is the God of Muhammad. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Good job.
And of course, just earlier on, Jesus identifies who the advocate is, the Holy Spirit, John 14:27. So this is like, obviously, Muslims don't really, there's another instance where they just don't care. They'll just like try to, like you said, it could have been a troll. Like you said, it could have just been a troll, but they used to take that argument seriously. They actually used to take that argument seriously.
They still do. It's just, it's another example of, because later in the exact same chapter, John 14, Jesus says that the Comforter is the Holy Spirit, And so they'll have to say, I even saw this. I think it was Dee's Responds. He pointed out that there's some like 5th century manuscript in a different language that doesn't have Holy Spirit right there. And he said, see, that's the authentic reading. It's like, what scholar on the planet says you've got one translation, one manuscript in a translation from centuries later, that one's actually the correct reading, and all the others are wrong? Why would you conclude that? And even says that, and that one's clearly the accurate one. Why? Because that's the one where that they can use to dismiss the idea that this is the Holy Spirit and so on. And that's just how it is, right? It's go with the most insane possibility. Like you'd say, like, what are the odds, guys? We have thousands of manuscripts in Greek. We have almost 6,000 manuscripts in Greek. Then you have thousands more in other languages. What are the odds that one manuscript in a translation got the actual reading right, and everything else, even in the original language, was wrong? Like, what are the odds? Like, very, very slim, and there isn't a textual critic on the planet that would take that seriously, and they'll go with it and just state it, and then, see, now you have to grant that this is Muhammad. It's like, oh my goodness. And they'll do that with, like, because you can point to probably 30 or 40 different problems with them saying that the Comforter is Muhammad. And they'll look for some possible way out of each one, and then the conclusion is, see, therefore it's clearly talking about Muhammad. It's like, oh my goodness, you guys this is terrible. But this is what the religion forces them into. Why? Because if you can't find Muhammad in the Torah and the Gospel, then the Quran is wrong, because the Quran says we find Muhammad in the Torah and the Gospel. And if you can't, then I guess that seems like he was a false prophet, right? but can't grant that. All right, let's run through these super chats real quick. We're going to go through these pretty quickly, guys, because we want to get to. So, guys, we looked at the clip of Ali Dawa and Hijab. Those are from several years ago. We want to point out like the evolution of these guys interacting and being blasted on this for years and having to defend this for years, and now they start changing their positions all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And
my speculation, their daughters are getting older too. That's my speculation.
Yep.
Ali Dawa, you know, he's mentioned that he's got like 3 daughters, and there's another conversation that he has a couple of years back, and his daughters are older at that point, and like you said, there's an evolution, definitely an evolution. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason, but I think there's something to do with it.
Yep. All right. So we'll go quickly through the super chats, but guys, want to talk about the Dawa war right now. So they're arguing about this right now. Looked for a while like they were going in the direction of, that's right, Muhammad did it. He had sex with a 9-year-old, and there's nothing wrong with it. It looks like that was the direction they have been going in for years, and now they're realizing, wait a minute, we have become, in everyone's eyes, the religion that defends child marriage, and it's not a good reputation, and people are leaving Islam over this, and people are not converting because of it, and so maybe we need to go in a different direction. And so anyway,
because look at some of their arguments that they bring up. They're like their counter arguments or whatever. They're like, oh yeah, Rebecca, and then the age of Mary, and then once they look that stuff up, they're like, wait, that's not true. Those are, you guys are just making that stuff up. And then they'll say things like, oh yeah, this king, you know, he married someone at this age. It's like, yeah, well, don't you know that king also like killed his brother so he could be the king, and he like, you know, executed his wife so he could marry another woman. Like, these are not like people that you'd like look up to as like, you know, like as moral examples. You know, they're not prophets of God. But so once you go past that kind of like the soundbite kind of like, you know, oh, this that, when you kind of look into it a little bit, you realize that there's no defense of Muhammad in that at all.
Yep. All right, so going to go through these super chats, and then we're going to jump into the Dawa wars, which is we've got a couple clips we'll look at, but mainly we're looking at the back and forth on X, because there's a full blown war going on right now, and we'll probably have to revisit this because they're kind of like right in the middle of it right now. Hello, David. Is your son Luke single by chance? Yes. Don't be some weird creepy person. Young Elijah Johnson absolutely embarrassed Lesbiano on his own channel. Utter embarrassment. But once again, he said nothing, and his followers clapped like barking seals. Yeah, they do that. I haven't seen that, but your description of how they react to pretty much anything is correct.
Sounds accurate. Yeah, sounds accurate.
This looks like some... Oh, he just spelled it backwards. I got it. That's TikTok time to rock backwards. At first, I thought it was like... Turkish or something like that. I was like, oh, someone's posting a message in Turkish, and then I was like, I saw it was a capital T at the end. I was like, why is that capital? And then I got it. Hey, Ida, got the super sticker there. Aisha was clearly a grandma. Yeah, she was clearly 1 million years old.
Yeah.
And no comment there. Thank you. Did you see Sam Shamu melting down over you guys? I mean, I've seen that multiple times, but if you're talking about something recently, no. Would not be slightly surprising. Artemis 2 back from NASA, mandate for Islam outreach. Artemis 2 back from NASA, mandate for Islam outreach. Don't know what that means. Hey, Jai, help clear up the confusion. Are you naturally strawberry blonde? My brother is so. His beard is red, but his hair is blonde now, not like it was when he was a kid.
I had a neighbor that was a hairdresser, and that's what she told me. She said strawberry blonde. So I don't know the differences between the hair colors, but that's what she told me.
Neither do I. Jai, not sure if it took place yesterday, but saw GodLogic's video of you debating that Muslim lady and just wanted to say, nice job, keep up the great work. That was from a while back, wasn't it?
Yeah, so basically Malik came out and was like, I'm going to get this girl to destroy you guys on the, qira'at and, whatever, preservation of Quran topics and whatever, and turns out someone's like, you probably don't remember this girl, but you actually debated her like a couple of years back. And so people actually, they remembered that discussion, and it was like in the archives, and Avery's editors put it all together. And you can watch it on his channel and see how she did.
That was also weird because Malik has been the main one trying to boycott me all you want, man. I don't need to go out and debate. I can just make videos. I actually prefer just making videos. I just don't like backing down from debate challenges, so I debate. But I would rather just be making videos and get into a good video rhythm. But Malik is the one demanding that we be boycotted, all the Quran desecrators be boycotted and so on. And then Sarah starts talking. He's like, oh, I challenge you to debate this one. It's like Sarah posted multiple responses to Malik doing stuff to the Quran. So she was a Quran desecrator too. Why? Well, it's pretty obvious. He doesn't know her, so he thinks, oh, well, she's a woman with a half brain. She won't be able to debate. Ho-ho! Which means he doesn't really believe in this boycotting principle and so on. That you boycott people based on how they treat the Quran. Because, yeah, again, Sarah, she does the same thing we do. Sarah does the same thing we do. And so it's clear he wants to control who's debating and so on, and using that as some sort of excuse. But yeah, it's pathetic. Totally pathetic.
By the way, I want to say the meme that me and you did a live stream on, the one that got like 1,024,000 hours or whatever. That meme apparently it kind of like made its way onto TikTok, and there's people that are running the arguments based on like how we presented it in the stream. And there's a clip of Malik going around. Remember, he said he wanted to debate me on the Qur'an and things like that. So there's a clip of him getting schooled by someone who he's like just using the meme, and he's like he basically got Malik to say there's like 7 Qur'ans or whatever, and for like the 7 ahruf and things like that. And then there's like a after that, like they put the 2 clips together or whatever, and he said he's all confused about it now. He's like, man, I'm all confused about it. So I'm thinking like, yeah, you want to debate me on it, but like the meme, just a meme gave you confusion. Like, I don't know if that's what you want to do. I don't know. Maybe if you want to, I wouldn't debate Malik anyway, just out of principle because it's Malik. But if he wants to set up one of his friends, we'll see how that goes.
I'd debate him in a heartbeat just because.
You would?
Oh yeah, even like evil scumbag. It's just more reason to like completely humiliate a total loser like that. So yeah, Malik, you want to jump in with us and talk about the Kirat? No problem, man. No problem. We have Sarah here says, you're dang right I do. That's right. And so it's weird how Malik totally forgot about his own rule. Also, if Aisha can't even get her age right, what kind of hadith transmitter is she? Yeah, and that's part of why other people are concerned about this. It's like, okay, if she's wrong about like her age, and I've pointed out before, there is some truth to the idea that someone might not know exactly what age they were, depending on what's going on. I've pointed out before, there are certain things like, if I was in a certain place that I would know that I was like 5 or 6 because we moved after that, right? And then after we moved, then we were in a certain place and we were there for a year, but that was from age 6 to 7, 6, 7, right? So I know I was only in that place. We only lived in that place when I was 6 and 7. There are things that happened back then in my memory, and I was like, well, was that when I was 6 or when I was 7? Well, I don't remember because, I remember the general time frame, but I don't remember specifically if I was 6 or 7. There could be things like that, right? So like if you wanted to vary, though, yeah.
when you got married, maybe that'd be like more imprinted in your memory if it was like when you got married, like you got married at it's like.
Yeah. So big things like when you got married, they should be imprinted on your mind.
I mean, what I'm saying is you're not going to have like a 9-year like slip up or something like that.
And that's what I'm talking about, right? So I can be confused about whether I was 6 or 7 when something. I'm not going to be confused about whether I was 9 or 19. There's nothing in my life that has ever happened where I'd be like, I kind of remember I was 9, but I may have been 19. But that's what you need, right? Like, I mean, if Aisha was actually like 18 or 19, but thought she was 9. then this would follow. She's completely unreliable. I can't trust anything you say if you didn't know the difference between 9 playing with dolls, playing on a swing, and 19. If you're that stupid, don't tell me anything, Aisha. And she narrated a ton of hadith. So that's what Mohammed Hijab's critics understand, that this would be bad for their methodology. How do moderate Muslims react to Aisha's age and story? Well, in a variety of ways, but some defend it and say it was a different time, so they become moral relativists on this issue. Others, go this route and start denying the sources and saying So anyway, lots of routes, but lots of the responses are based on ignorance. So they'll, like at first, because guys, I was back there when we started popularizing this stuff, and if you go back 20 years, it was almost standard to say, no, she wasn't 9. If you brought it up, no, come on. And what they would say is, oh, okay, yeah, there may be a hadith that says this, but there's so many more that say she was older, right? And Muslims would hear this in response because they go to their Dawa guys, and their Dawa guys are compulsive liars, and will just tell them anything, no matter how completely false it is, to keep them from leaving Islam. So, but then they would hear something from a Dawa guy, and then they come back to whatever person is sharing this information with them, and they go, oh yeah, but there are all these other hadiths and so on. So it took years of, okay, yeah, show me these hadiths.
There's no other hadith, yeah.
And then they would say, oh, it's all just one hadith. It's not one hadith. There's hundreds of hadiths that say she was 9. Mm-hmm. Where are these other hadiths? And so this kept going on for years. Then until I was debating Kenny Bomer, who wanted to debate Muhammad and Aisha, and I was saying, and he was saying, yes, and she was older, and she was 18 or 19. I was saying, show me one. Show me one. Oh, but there's so many. Show me one. They're in there. Show me one. And I'm turning to the audience going, guys, if he's saying there's these hadiths that say she was older, is it unreasonable for me to say just one? Show me one that says she was 18? Can you show me? Is that too much to ask? But that's the situation we're in.
I'm sure you heard this one, but there's also like the one where they said that in Arabic they sometimes omit like the first digit. So it wasn't.
Yeah. So there's that. Yeah. So 9 really means 19 because they would leave off the first digit. Then I've also seen no. They only started counting your age after you reach puberty. So you're just 0 up until you reach puberty. Then they start counting. And so Aisha might have been 22, 23 because she might have reached puberty in her teens, and then then they started counting. So when she says she was 9, it's like that just makes stuff up. So yeah. So that's the most. That's the general principle. Abu Bakr. How do moderate Muslims react? By making things up or by passing on things that someone else made up. What's your thought on the rise of Islam being a factor in people migrating towards the Americas? I believe there's a book on it. I'm sure there is a book on it, but yeah, that was an issue. It's basically, in order to bring stuff back and forth from India, you had to go through Muslim territories, and if they're you don't like going through there and it's a bit too dangerous, then you look for another route. You look for another route where you don't have to interact with those guys. So that is part of it. They wanted a different trade route with India, and when they reached the America, they actually thought they were close to India. Does Islam teach female circumcision? Why or why not? Yes, there's not a ton of stuff, but yeah, you've got a couple of passages and stuff like that. You've got Aisha calls sex the meeting of the two circumcised parts.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. I can help you obtain the strength to defeat Dawa. That's good. It's a big black dude whose channel name is I Rode the Prophet.
Oh, gosh.
The direction they take is just to lie like always. Yeah, that is their direction. Thanks for your work. It seems there's a Eucharistic dilemma in Islam. Surah 5, 112 to 115 seems to refer to the Eucharist, yet Muhammad rejects Christ's crucifixion and atonement, which is incoherent. Have you or others worked on this? Not that particular issue, but yeah, I mean, that chapter's called The Table. And it's
yeah.
But that's a good direction to go in. Check that and see where it goes. Hello, WD. Hello, Jai. Hope you both doing well. We're doing well.
Hey, is that Ida? Hey, Ida.
Yep, that's Ida. Where can we find the list of 200 Aisha age hadith? I don't know about I don't know about like I don't have any complete list. I have dozens. In the 6 major collections, then I have some that are in like Tabari and stuff like that. But saying over 200, that's in Joshua Little's. dissertation. Keep in mind, he's rejecting the idea that Aisha was 9, but he points out that there are over 200 hadiths giving her age and so on. So you could check that out. But yeah, I'm just going with him on that because he actually he set up all these hadiths through like a computer model and stuff like this to trace them back to where they originate and stuff like that, and concludes that they're unreliable. Opinions on Canada minister calling Bible hateful. What do I care what some dork in Canada says? Girl math got replaced with Islamic math. Yep. In the words of Han Solo, never tell me the odds. That's a good idea. It's like saying there's a chance. Just watched your subway testimony with my mother. She was stunned, waiting for my father to get back in town to show him. God bless. That was a good video. That was a banger. Have you seen Chris's latest Islamic dilemma debate? It's one-sided. The guy is supposed to be a scholar, but Dawa seems to be the same dribble, different mouths. We might want to review that.
It was with that.
I didn't see it.
That Prophet Daniel guy.
I
watched one of his other debates, and it like got cut halfway because he just kept like insulting the whole time. It turned into one of those debates. I'm pretty sure that's what it's like. He's like Prophet Daniel or something like that. And he keeps telling people, I'm not a prophet. But it's like he goes like Prophet Daniel.
What's that? How do you call Islamic wedding? Telta Biz convention? What? Don't know what that means. But remember, they know Mary was 12. Yeah, that's what's funny, right? They'll say, okay, yeah, we have 200 sources saying she was 9, but maybe those are all wrong. These same guys will go, but Mary was 12. According to what? Chapter and verse. It's in the Proto-Evangelium of James. Proto-Evangelium of James says she was 16. But no, it says she was 12. Yeah, it says she was 12 when they're talking about something in the temple. When it says that this was actually consummated stuff and she's pregnant, that says she was 16. Where you go, oh, but you know, and then they'll go to, and it's like, we're supposed to take that seriously and go, oh, wow, she was 12. Now we know she was 12. Dawa is so stupid, man. Momo, ride the train. Ride it. Zoot, zoot. Very rude. Weak hadith doesn't work with sahih, does it? No, it's like, but that's the thing. If you're saying these hadiths are sahih, but they might still be wrong, then you're introducing the idea of possibly weak hadith that seem like sahih.
It's a slippery slope, and it's going to destroy Islam.
Yeah. Watching a cricket live stream last night, a guy was commenting about getting Imam al-Haq into bat. I replied, didn't he die in Yamama? Didn't see him comment again after that. What is this? Why would you say something so mean? Would you consider praying right here, right now for the destruction of the demonic spiritual influence that's blinding Muslims from
Nordine.
knowing the truth? Yeah, we knew it was Nordine. Please don't say no. Well, I will say no because I don't like what you want, Nordine. I don't like what you want to turn the channel into. This is not a spiritual warfare channel. I mean, it is in a sense that we're doing stuff, but if I pray, I will go pray. We're not. Yeah. Anyway, the child marriage issue sounds like religious NIMBYism. Child marriage is acceptable in their worldview, just not for their children. Oh, that was Muhammad. That was Muhammad too. That was Muhammad too.
Yeah. NIM is. No.
That's not in my backyard. Not in my backyard.
Sorry. I thought
you don't want to say backyard. You don't want to say backyard if you're talking about Muhammad, because that would have zut connotations and so on. But it's okay for someone else, but not my daughter. But that's how Muhammad was, right? So he marries Aisha at 6, but then later, when some of his companions want to marry his daughter, no, she's too young.
Yeah.
Why are Muslims so desperate to prove Momo mentioned in our Bible, which they claim is corrupted? Then their book confirms our Bible. I'm confuzzled. Yeah, that's because
the Quran says it.
It's just a problem. It's just a problem for Islam. Please
accept Quran says he's in the Bible. He's not in the Bible. Therefore, Islam is false.
Mm-hmm. Please accept my measly jizya. We do. More impressions of chunk yogurt, please. What do you want in prison? What do you want in prison of chunk yogurt? Objective Christian here with a new vocab word, slimwit, a Muslim who still refuses to accept the truth even after being crushed with irrefutable evidence. It's not bad. Quran 43, 61 to 63 basically is Jesus commanding Muslims to follow and obey him. Why don't you use these verses to convict Muslims?
Hey, whenever people say that, I'm thinking like, there's so much to go and to attack Islam.
Why aren't you using
with.
it? We have thousands of things we can use, guys. Thousands. That's the proof she was grandma. She was sitting in her wheelchair trying to remember if she was 9 or 19. There you go. That's proof that she was super old. She couldn't even remember things. Please ask the Dawa guys if they are attracted by minors or if this debate is for the benefit of their profit only. Well, he's the pattern of conduct.
Yeah, I've actually asked. There's one particular Muslim guy I asked that to before, and he actually said yes. Now it was an online discussion. I had nowhere to report him, but I actually did get a yes from that before.
We have Sarah says that's why I would like to debate Malik. First, I'm not his dhimmi. He can't tell me who to debate and expect me to agree. Second, I want to embarrass him for all to see. Yeah, you got a little problem though, Sarah. He's a total coward.
And embarrassing implies that he has like some sort of shame. He has no shame, nothing to feel embarrassed by.
Appreciate all the hard work you guys do, not in the zut sense. It's good, almost done here. The only reason they were looking for another route to Asia was because Islam. Remember that. Yeah. Teletubbies conventions, the kitchen. Oh, Teletubbies. That's not how you,
Teletubbies.
That's not how you spell that though. That was a creepy show. I remember because we had a little kid and it was like, oh, here's a kid show. Let me click on this kid show, and it looked like really weird and creepy to me. Like these things were like weird, creepy things. Here we have I Rode the Prophet said, did someone say backyard? And we have David, how much exactly do you earn per stream? I don't know. That would depend. But you could actually add it up. You just go through all the super chats and add it up, and then YouTube takes about a third or so. But yeah. All right. That's weird. How much exactly do you have? Like there's some exact. Let's see. All right.
All right. Yeah, we're good. No. Because there was a comment that about Fatima and Muhammad, refusing to marry her off. There's actually a comment in one of the videos we're about to watch from Fareed, and someone actually asked that question. They're like, hey, is there a source that says that, Fatima was like, that when she got married off, she was like, 9 years old or 7 years old or something like that. He said that we can use that to silence critics that, Muhammad would have, like it was normal. It was normal to marry your daughter off at that age, but it's like you said, it's actually the opposite of that. It's the opposite. It's that he refused because she was too young, and so he's trying to look for something to be like, see, it was normal back then, but it actually backfires. It backfires on them.
Oh, that's interesting. All right, just real quick, we have Nordine again. I don't see why you refuse to pray right now. You lose nothing. I don't like being controlled by people who are always pushing me into doing something, and that you're always like this. You're always like that. What about the demons? And talk to the demons and respond to the demons. What about demons? What about demons? Demons. This is not the talk about demons all day show. Matter of fact, I think the first time you started talking about this stuff, I pointed out that famous C.S. Lewis. Wait, I read it in C.S. Lewis, but he was quoting someone else. Well, I don't remember if he was. I think it might have been quoting someone else, but he said. There are two mistakes you can make with demons. One is to think they don't exist. The other is to take an unhealthy interest in them and stuff like that. So I want to sit here. And if I want to pray, I'll go pray. If the Quran actually never says the Bible is corrupted and that isn't what Momo preached, wouldn't we see early sources mentioning reading both texts? Yeah.
Yeah, and Muhammad.
That's exactly the reality. Just read Quran chapter 5, verses 112 to 115. Why is Jesus asking Allah for a table? Jesus is a Jewish carpenter like Allah. Isa, not Jesus, has two right hands. God bless you, gents. That is an issue. Yeah, that doesn't get pointed out. He's a carpenter. Why would he need a table? But no, they want the table with all the food and everything else on it. And it's Jesus showing off and being miraculous and so on.
You also have no you don't even get the slightest hint that Joseph even existed in the Quran, so there's, other things that go into that. Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's check out some of these tweets. Check out some tweets. reads. All right, here we go. So I think, and it was just before the show, before we started, I just went to Hijab's page and I tried to figure out where this was starting, but I don't know if this is actually where it was starting, but
Yeah, that is where it started.
Yeah, going through Mohammed Hijab's page, this is where it started. So now you're saying this guy's was this the guy who's a Shia? Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
he is.
since the Epstein class is insulting the Holy Prophet and his wife Aisha in order to hide their crimes, I decided to write this. Historians list Aisha among the first 24 people to convert to Islam, which would have required her to be at least several years old at the start of the Prophet's mission. The overwhelming consensus among Shia scholars is that she was 18 to 19 when she married. This is the most frequently cited range, often calculated using the age of her older sister Asma, who was 10 years older and died at 100 years old. That is a terrible, terrible argument because one, if I recall correctly, it's not even, it says something different. It's like 10 years plus a few or something like this. And the few can mean like 3 to 9 and so on. And even that's like one source from a guy who's way later. And then you have other sources giving different, but that's what I mean. It's, hey, we'll have hundreds of sources all saying the same thing. When you reason, oh, let's go to this later guy and go with what he says, and then even misrepresent what he says, and then use that as part of our case, even though he's contradicting other things other people said, and then you're ignoring the fact that all the sources that you guys are appealing to all say she was 9. It's just, it's like massive cherry picking and distorting things.
Yeah.
And so you'd normally think, and by the way, you've got Aisha's young age in Shia Hadith as well. I don't know what the consensus of Shia scholars is or something like that, but you've got the same thing in Shia sources, and based on what he's saying right here, this would be the same stupid, sloppy reasoning we saw from the revisionists who were trying to deny it.
Yeah. Now, what you might want to do is you might want to, okay, after we read this tweet here from Morandi here, you might want to play the short video from Fareed. And then when we read Mohammed Hijab's response, we can play the Fareed video again because I think it applies in both cases.
All right, so we will check out Fareed's. So you're saying Fareed was responding to that?
Directly to that, yeah.
Okay.
But you'll see how it's applicable to also what Mohammed Hijab is about to say too. So we might play it a couple times.
All right, here we go. Fareed. He's our favorite.
I saw this post by Marandi who's saying that...
hey, what sort of weird camera you got? You got some high tech, man. That's better than the camera you got in your studio, man. What, you got some upgrade, man. Dawa must be nice. Must be nice. Fareed getting all the sweet upgrades. All right, let's go.
I saw this post by Marandi who's saying that according to Shi'ism, Shi'i scholars, the age of Aisha is like 18, 19. I don't know what's going on here with Marandi. Clearly, he's trying to appease those from a Western background, a secular background. It's always the wrong thing to do. Marandi, I don't know if you're aware, but...
That is funny, though. I'm guessing he's going to point out, no, it's in the Shia Hadith as well.
Yep, exactly.
But that part definitely applies to Hijab because Hijab agrees that this is a reasonable alternative theory and stuff like that. But he's right. You're trying to appease people with this. You're trying to appease people. And so definitely Hijab right there.
Marandi, I don't know if you're aware, but according to Al-Fadl al-Tabrasi in I'lam al-Wara and Ibn Shahrashub in Manaqib al-Abi Talib, these are classical Shi'i works. The age of Aisha, consummation is 9. Same with Sunnis. So
I've never really gone through this issue in detail from Shia Hadith, but yeah, I've seen Shia Hadith 9 and 10.
Yep, same here. Yeah.
Trying to get one up over Sunnis, but classical Shi'i scholars say the exact same thing. This view that Aisha is 18, 19, this is just a modern position. It's a reaction to criticisms by non-Muslims. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, you got to be aware that you cannot appease them. The only way to satisfy the critics is if you convert to their religion. We know that that's the case. That's what
He's
it's.
getting that from the Quran, of course.
Yeah. And I have to say, if someone takes something, so he's just taking this as they hate Islam, so they're looking for anything to attack Islam, and it wouldn't matter if this wasn't an issue. That may be true in certain cases, but no, we know for a fact this bothers a lot of people. This bothers a lot of Muslims, and there have been people who, when you ask them why they left Islam, they'll say it's basically the Quran's putting forward Muhammad as this perfect pattern of conduct. Then I found out that when he's 54 years old, he had sex with a 9-year-old. I'm like, is this what I would regard as, some great standard of pattern of conduct for people to live by? And no, so it just falls apart. It's like, I cannot believe that this guy doing this is an example for all of us to follow. So
I want to say as well, like, I think it's interesting that he said the Marandi guy who did this original post, he's doing it in response to people like you, who every time Muslims are talking about the Epstein files, you're like, oh, you mean like this guy? And like, you're posting the Hadith with Muhammad's picture and stuff like that. So those have added up to the point where Muslims are like so ticked off, where they're like, hey, he's not like Epstein, okay? She could have been 19, she could have been 18. So it's kind of funny. So that means that they see those comments. They see those comments about, whenever there's an Epstein thing and then there's a Christian in there, he's like, hey, wait a minute. You guys are condemning this. Good for you. You should be condemning it. But also look at this guy. This is Muhammad here and look what he did.
It was like the weirdest thing. Like the files came out and then they're like, you see, look, Islam condemns this. And they made it so easy. Like, wait, what? You condemn this? Islam condemns this? Okay, here's your prophet. And here's what the Quran says. And here's this and here's that. And so they're in a quandary now. They've all just declared that that's horrible and evil, and yet their prophet did it. And so, well, maybe she was way older. Good luck with that, guys. All right, back to Fareed here.
It says in the Quran. And here's the thing. Even if you gave them...
Yeah, what was that about the Quran?
I think he was saying, because you said he's getting that from the Quran. I think that's what it was. Oh. That claim that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're just going to attack Islam anyway. Because the only thing they'll be satisfied with is you leaving Islam.
Oh, yeah.
Critics is if you convert to their religion. We know that that's the case. That's what it says in the Quran. And here's the thing. Even if you
by the way, it's not true, by the way. That's not true, by the way. You can use like the Jews as an example of that, where they have this concept of being like a righteous Gentile, right? And it's possible that someone could live the life of a Muslim and they follow the laws of Noah, the 7 laws of Noah, and I mean, I'm not saying they're right. I don't believe that they're right, but they think that they can go to heaven because they're following the law. So it's not the case that you need to like join. Like Jews believe that you need to become a Jew to go to heaven or something like that. No, again, we're Christians. We don't believe that, but the Quran's wrong when it says that about Jews. It's not the case.
Yeah, and it's just a really stupid oversimplification. Like, yeah, I would like every Muslim on the planet to leave Islam and become Christians. I seriously don't think that's going to happen, but I would have really liked it if Islam didn't teach that you could have sex with little girls, because it's just been terrible for little girls for a long time. So I would rather Islam didn't teach that. If there was actually any real case that Islam didn't teach that, guess what? I would rather have an Islam that doesn't teach that, because then you could tell Muslims, guys, you got it all wrong. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do this. Don't ever do it. I know you heard for a long time that it was okay to do that, but actually we figured it out thanks to Mohammed Hijab and this Shia guy. She was older, and so don't do it. Do not do that. We'd much rather have that. And so Fareed's just, this is, you saw it. Well, this is what the Quran says, so it doesn't matter. Oh, okay, great.
Well,
Aisha, that they would be satisfied with. What they're not going to bring up that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was married to multiple women. Just last year, they came up with, we
would bring that up, but specifically on the issue of like hypocrisy, right? So he has his revelation, you can have up to 4 wives, and then he gets 9 or 11 or whatever. Why? Well, Surah 33:50, Allah says, oh, yeah, but you, Muhammad, you can have more. Everyone else gets 4, you get more. Okay, when the guy receiving the revelations is like that, where here's the rules for all you guys, but, Allah wants me to have way more sexual partners than the rest of you guys. It's kind of the sign of a cult leader, right? So,
Yep.
yeah,
Rules for thee, not for me.
yeah, that's the situation with that. So we would point that out. But I have to say, I wouldn't even, just the idea of polygamy isn't, now there are problems with polygamy and so on, but that wouldn't, I'm way more concerned about that, as far as someone being an obvious hypocrite. So yeah, the children, if it wasn't children, it's just polygamy. Okay, I'd still have some issue with that. It would not be that would not be anything remotely resembling a main criticism. The hypocrisy. Yeah, you guys get 4, I get more. Yeah, that would be an issue. So, yeah, Fareed, you're making a great point. Even if you took away Muhammad and Aisha, we have way more things to bring up. You're right on the money there. Your prophet, we have endless material against him. So you are correct in that, hey, you guys don't have to appease the non-Muslims on this issue, because even if you did, they're not going to be completely appeased, because we've got tons and tons of other stuff we can go after Muhammad because he was such a screwed up, depraved weirdo. That's correct. You're right.
Just last year, they took a report that spoke about the Prophet, peace be upon him, being approached by multiple people, and they twisted it to make it seem like some sort of sexual interaction.
Is he talking about Muhammad and the night of Al-Zut?
Yeah, I didn't even see this part of the video. I didn't even see this. So this is all new to me. Yeah, so he's talking about Azut, guys. He's like, what?
Oh, just last year they took this hadith, which is about all these men riding our prophet all night long, so that he stumbles back to his companion Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and is in pain, and he falls asleep with his head on his lap, and they interpret this as something that's not perfect and good and holy. Holy in a sense, but all right.
That's the type of folks that you're dealing with. Upon him being approached by multiple people,
you gotta go back.
They're not going to bring up that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was married to multiple women. Just last year, they took a report that spoke about the Prophet, peace be upon him, being approached by multiple people, and they twisted it to make it seem like some sort of sexual interaction. That's the type of folks that you're dealing with.
And they twisted it the way the men of Al-Zut twisted Muhammad up like a pretzel that night. Hey, Fareed, if you ever want to explain that hadith for us, join us live, and we'll go through the sources, and you give us your silly mistranslations and stuff, and we'll go through the lexicons and so on, and we'll see. Maybe you can answer it, man. Maybe you can answer it.
Yeah. They approached him. So ridden now means approach.
Yeah. They approached him. They rode him, dude. They rode him. They rode him all night long.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to turn everything into a sexual matter in order to attack the Prophet, peace be upon him. So never appease critics of Islam.
Then just admit he got zooted, man. Don't appease us. They rode your prophet all night long. You know what that says. Come on, man. Don't appease us. Okay. No, our prophet, he got banged by 30 men of Al-Zut, and we're not ashamed. Don't appease them and deny it. That's good principle, man. Don't deny it.
The Prophet, peace be upon him. So never appease critics of Islam. Stick to the historical reports. Be proud of your religion.
Be proud of Al-Zut.
Be proud of Muhammad on the night of Al-Zut. He took one for the team, and he got the strength of 30 men directly injected into him. Be proud of your prophet for doing that for everyone. Isn't that weird? Be proud of your prophet for sucking on little boys' tongues. Be proud of your prophet for having sex with young girls. Be proud of your prophet for taking the wife of his own adopted son. Be proud of your prophet for torturing a man and killing him to find out where money was hidden, and then taking this guy's wife after you just killed her husband back to your tent. Be proud of all this.
One more thing I almost forgot. According to Shi'i books, Shi'i hadiths, Fatima, may Allah be pleased with her, was 9 years old when she got married to Ali. Radiallahu anhu.
Huh. I did not know that. Thank you for that, Fareed.
That's
Hey,
why in the
for-
comments, someone was like, "Hey, are there any Sunni hadiths that agree with that, so we can use it against the critics of Islam and to try to prove that this was like a normal thing?" And he's like, "Nope, there's no."
Yeah, it says she was too. I'm familiar with the hadith that's where they want to marry her, and he says no, she's too young, and so on. But yeah, I couldn't find any specific age. It would be interesting if they do give the specific age of 9 in Shia hadith.
Apparently, the Shia do.
Hey, Fareed. We'll only use this in the context of Shia Islam, maybe. But send us a link to the source, man. And I know, Fareed, you're thinking, no, I don't want to help you. I understand, man. That's why we make deals. You send me that source, unless someone else sends it to me first. You send me the source, and I'll let you make one reasonable request. I'll give you a golden ticket, man. I'll give you a golden ticket. You can make one reasonable request, and if it's a reasonable request, something I can do, I'll do it, man. See? Send me the source, man. Good stuff. Don't you know that Fatima was 9?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man.
So, he's appeasing Westerners and all this other stuff, and this is all modern. And now let's see what Mohammed Hijab said. It was any different than what the Shia guy said.
Let's see. So this Shia guy, he lays out this lame stuff, and Fareed corrects him. But we have Mohammed Hijab not correcting him, agrees with him instead, apparently. He says, Sunni, I consider this a plausible view. In any case, it is untenable for critics to hinge their rejection of Islam on the age of Aisha, given that one can fully affirm Islam while holding that she was 18 or 19. For further discussion. This is a little problematic. One can fully affirm Islam. Yes, you could say, I believe that there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger and so on. And I believe that she was 18 or 19. You could say you believe that she was a million, right? Right? That's not compromising the Shahada or something like that. But yet you'd have to, it's for me, it's more like the implications. It's okay. If she was 18 or 19, your sources are garbage. Your entire historical methodology is screwed up and it doesn't work even on issues like this. And therefore it calls your entire methodology into question and casts doubt upon the entire hadith system, even your most reliable ones. Because, guys, keep in mind, it's their most reliable sources, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, the ones they point to as the gold standard of history of Muhammad. And you have tons. It's all over the place. That Aisha was 9 years old.
Hey, we have a Muslim in the chat saying, "How old was Rebecca?"
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
He said, "How old was Rebecca?"
Hang on. Let me see if I can find this. What's his name?
It was Abd something. I got to scroll up to.
Abd something Noor. Because I saw someone responding to him. Let me find this. How long ago was it?
How old was Rebecca?
Was it like 10 seconds ago or like 5 minutes?
Yeah, something like 10 seconds. Yeah. So I just found it.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
How old was Rebecca? Well, it doesn't say, but she was apparently in her teens. She was out doing work, and she watered 10 camels, which you got to be pretty strong. And she was they asked her for what she thought about whether she wanted to go off and get married and so on. So yeah, does that answer your question? So long story short, there's no verse that gives her age. We don't have anything, and there's no combination of verses that give some sort of specific age. It repeatedly calls her young woman. The passage where it describes her repeatedly calls her young woman. It doesn't use little girl or anything else like that. So, anything else? Anything else you'd like to ask? Notice we just paused what we were talking about to help you. So how old was Rebecca? We have nothing telling us what her specific age was. We just know that she's called young woman and she's doing things that a young woman would do. That's what we know. And so you can compare that with Muhammad and Aisha, where we have over 200 sources saying that Muhammad had sex with her when she was 9 years old. And we've got the Quran saying that you can have sex with girls even before they've ever reached puberty. So does that answer your question? Because keep in mind, we're being nice and assuming you have good intentions and you were just asking because you didn't know.
Looks like Abdel Noor disappeared.
Is it another one of those guys who likes running his mouth until you actually call him on it?
It looks like it.
And by the way, guys, note, this is how you know Islam is demonic antichrist religion. We respect the Prophet. We respect them more than you Christians. Oh yeah, how you show your respect by calling Isaac and Moses and Abraham all pedophiles. Really, that's how you show your respect? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
He just he gave the thumbs up there. He gave the thumbs up.
Okay.
So we're good.
So he thumbs up. Okay, I guess we're good.
See, guys, sometimes you don't jump to conclusions. You assume the best. He's just asking. He asked a question. We answered it, and that was it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but for those who aren't as honest as Abdel Noor 87 here, you've got all these weirdos who just flat
someone
out
saying Uthman just made a video about it defending.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to go through that
or
again.
attacking it again. Yeah,
Yeah,
wasn't Jake responding to like Uthman and stuff like that when he did his video? And so I don't know if Uthman is doing a response to Jake, but someone in the chat just said it. They said I don't know if it was a super chat or something, but someone mentioned
we might need to go through. We might need to go through that, man.
Yeah,
it's such what you were saying earlier about guys. Keep in mind, this is very recent stuff. I was there in the early 2000s. I was there in the early 2000s when this stuff was kicking off. Back then, they had their main arguments. It's scientific miracles, perfect miraculous preservation of the Quran. Islam's the fastest growing religion, so it must be the truth. And Muhammad's character, Muhammad's amazing character. He's so perfect and so great compared to any other human being in all of history. The only explanation is that he's from God. That's the only way of explaining how good this guy was, right? That's the real. We weren't just being mean and saying, "Hey, your prophet banged a little girl." That wasn't the point. It was, okay, you guys have made his character the criterion that we're using as evidence. Okay, if that's the criterion, how do you reconcile that with this guy having sex with a 9-year-old girl? They started responding and so on. So anyway, but guys, that's pretty darn recent. That's when I was kind of getting started in this stuff. That's when we start bringing it up, and then it's year after year after year of people denying it, and then they eventually get to the point where we make them start defending it, and then they start defending it, and then more and more people catch on. But so you have, that's the situation. But now you've got this where they're just trying anything. Oh, but Rebecca was 3. And it's complete idiotic made up nonsense, but they're favorite guys. Mohammed Hijab defends this. Sheikh Uthman defends this. You'll occasionally get an honest Dawa guy. Jake Broncatella actually responded to that. This guy said, "Stop saying this. The Bible doesn't say that. It doesn't." And
occasionally honest. Yeah.
Occasionally honest. Definitely. Yeah. Not always honest, but he was honest in that sense. And so, but yeah, the point is, like, if they're still using this, if a bunch of people are still stupid enough to just believe this and they don't realize that it's this weird situation of them, the Dawa guys are showing their true colors, that this isn't about respecting prophets and getting to the truth. I mean, they on that issue, right? They're lying about Isaac, a true prophet, but it's not just Isaac, because Abraham is the one who's sending his servant to go get a daughter. So you're implicating Abraham as someone who, go get her a 3-year-old, man, a 3-year-old. And it's not just him who's writing this. Moses. So Moses is writing down, yes, it's okay to have sex with a 3. Abraham, Moses, and Isaac. And you're attacking them all and flat out lying about them. How are we not to conclude that you don't actually respect prophets, true prophets? You respect one false prophet, and you're willing to throw every other true prophet under the bus just to defend the one false prophet. Okay, that's a demonic antichrist religion. Don't tell us that you guys have the truth and stuff like that, and that you are the ones who really respect. You don't. It's all complete nonsense. You show your true colors. That's why, even though we've answered this over and over and over again, you just have to, because you still have tons of Muslims who don't know that this is a lie. But some of those, once they see that it's a lie, some of those will be like, wow, I can't believe I listened to Mohammed Hijab and Sheikh Uthman lying about, like flat out lying about Isaac, Abraham, Moses, saying they're all cool with banging a 3-year-old. Also, we can defend Muhammad, right? You want people to know that. Some people would be bothered by it. I don't trust these guys anymore. So that's why we kind of have to keep responding to this stuff all the time.
So I can't see exactly what that is in the thumbnail. I don't know if it's there's a book in his hand or it's a Bible, but he's saying Age of Rebecca Exposed. He has the book open and it says, he put like 3, and then he says, Habibi, she was 3, and it's got you, Sam, Avery, and someone else in the thumbnail, and it says, stunning revelation. They'll never mention Aisha's age again after this.
Oh, now he's going clickbaity nonsense.
Must watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently we watched that video. We're never going to mention Aisha's age again. So he says.
All right. I guess we're gonna have to go through it.
But it's like 19 minutes long. So it's like
we can do that. We can do a whole live stream going. And he always lies because he's a compulsive liar, and he knows especially. I mean, his fans are like dumbest of the dumb. Sheikh Uthman, they're like a special level of dumb. And so he kind of knows he can just say something. It's a weird situation. Sheikh Uthman's fans are so incredibly stupid. We can actually respond to it, and they won't understand. They won't understand anything we're saying. They don't understand anything he's saying. Like when he's okay, and you add this to this, and you calculate this, and subtract this, and multiply it to the square it, and then divide by this, and so on. And they don't understand anything he's saying. It's just, Sheikh Uthman somehow proved it, and you respond to it and show that he's just lying. They don't get it. They're too stupid. That's my biggest concern moving to the future. You've got all these guys who are the product of 40 generations of first cousin marriage, and their IQs are so low, they cannot understand evidence or a refutation or anything else. What is this? Saying Rebecca was in her teens isn't a fact either. No one knows her age. She's called young woman.
Yeah.
And she's doing the work that I would be absolutely shocked that a child could do. I couldn't believe it. If you were saying, it doesn't have to be 3. I wouldn't trust like my 7-year-old boy to do this stuff. So yeah, it says young woman. That's what it says. So you're kind of giving the benefit of the doubt and assuming like 9, but I mean she could have been 20 and been a young woman. So anyway, point is you have no indication, zero, that she was 3 or prepubescent or anything else like that, and therefore, you can't build an argument on. Well, based on all the actual details, she sounds like a young woman. But maybe she was a little girl who was called a young woman and sounds like a young woman and was doing all this. That's a stupid way of arguing. So compare that with Muhammad and Aisha were arguing based on what the sources clearly and repeatedly and consistently say. Saying, well, it's the same thing with Mary. We don't know how old Mary was. We don't have some specific age for Mary. You can't build an argument on, maybe she was 30. I mean, how would we know, right? Anyway. All right. So, should we check out some more responses from Hijab here?
Oh yeah, Hijab. Yeah, that's a good one.
Check out a little more from Hijab, and then we'll probably review that other clip at some point. Okay. All right. So this was the next one, I think, after that. So I'm guessing some people flipped out that he said it.
Yeah. Someone said, they said, this is the authentic view, and then they gave the Hadith, And he's like, of course, is the well-known view. Or,
Oh, yeah, there we go.
they're right here. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see here.
Someone's like the
Okay,
authentic,
so
the
Zayd-
authentic view.
So hijab, oh, look at this. By the way, look at his video. Age of
Yeah.
Aisha, KO counter argument. Maybe she was older, powerful. That's my KO counter argument. What a dork. And then Zayd Khalil says, the authentic view. It was narrated from Aisha, sitting on the side. It was narrated from who? It was narrated from Aisha that the Messenger of Allah married her when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage with her when she was 9. And guys, you do have some difference in the Muslim sources about whether she was 6 or 7. I already pointed out that kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense to be a little shaky on 6 or 7. But they're consistent on her being 9. So this is all over the place in the Muslim sources. And so he just says, hey, this is the authentic view. And then Hijab replies, of course, this is the well-known accepted view. However, the other view, which many like Sheikh, I've seen people making fun of this guy. Yes, Sheikh al-Dadaw, considered to be plausible, runs as follows. Asma bint Abi Bakr, 10 years older than Aisha. Why are you saying that she was 10 years older? Massively debatable, and you have it's completely inconsistent in your sources. Died in 73 AH at age 100. This places Aisha's birth around 605, making her 17 to 19 at consummation. Yeah, if you ignore the couple hundred sources we have saying she was 9, and all the problems with giving that giving that 10-year difference there. Bukhari 2297. Aisha recalled her parents only as Muslims with the This is just stupid. He's not even getting how that idea is used correctly. He's not even getting the argument right. No, but he says, Aisha recalled her parents only as Muslims, with the Prophet visiting daily amid early Meccan persecution, 610 to 615, requiring conscious memory impossible under the 6 and 9 timeline. No, that's not the point. He's giving what the passage actually says, right? But how it's used is there's a mistranslation in Bukhari where she says, from the age of puberty.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my parents from the age of puberty, when it actually says from the age I could remember things. But guys, notice, as Hijab has put it, it makes no sense. So he's saying she must have been old because she only remembered her parents being Muslims. You guys see the problem? She only remembers her parents being Muslims. Okay, so that all that means is she had conscious memories after her parents became Muslims.
Right.
How does that tell you? How does that tell you she's older? Right? Let me put it this way. If she was older, wouldn't she remember the time before her parents became Muslims, right? If she was older, then wouldn't she remember, hey, I remember when I was young, that was before my parents were Muslims. That would mean that she's older, right? If she could, I was like 15 years old when my parents converted to Islam. I remember that. Instead, it's, I only remember my parents as Muslims. That means that she was able to form memories after her parents became Muslims. Okay, that fits perfectly with the 6-9 timeline. Perfectly. Are you stupid, Hijab?
Yeah.
And then see Habib or Rahman, Age of Aisha, detailed chronological analysis. I'd like to check that out because I don't think this other, I don't think this is, there's no way that person used Bukhari 2297 like that. He must have been.
No.
I think Hijab's just too stupid to understand the argument even. One
Yeah,
second.
I also, they used to.
We got a troublemaker here.
Okay.
1 second. Here we go. Here we go. Someone needs attention. Someone always needs attention. Oh, I heard you guys were talking trash about my hero, Mohammed Hijab. I will come to refute you all.
Hey, what's up, Isa? He's like, I just came. I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to comment.
Yeah, I saw the Dawa wars, and I said, I have to, if I can, I would love to jump in.
Issa's always ready for war. He's always ready for war. He sees a fight go on, and he's like, hey, I want in this. I want in this.
Especially about the Dawa wars.
Yeah, you know what I'm curious about though. Thinking about that, it's like how would a child like how would they even distinguish between pagan Arab and Muslim Arab? Because there's a lot of practices where Muhammad was like, yeah, we're gonna do this with the pagans. Like they would do like Hajj and stuff like that with the pagans. They would like go around the black stone naked together and stuff like that. Like they were doing things side by side. You couldn't tell of them apart in terms of like whether like you just see them like kissing the black stone together. You don't know if it's a pagan or if it's a Muslim. So a child, how would a child even know the difference? A child wouldn't know the difference between a pagan. I mean, but yeah, I like your point that you made. But I'm just starting to think about it. I'm like, how would you even be able? How would a child be able to differentiate?
Code 3R says Mary was 12. Hey, Code 3R, are you a Muslim? Christian? What? Atheist? What? What are you?
Well,
Code 3R. Code 3R, you're over there saying some things.
Someone said naked. Yeah, there's a yeah. They used to walk around the black stone naked and do all sorts
No,
of
I'm just saying
practices.
you could grant that entire thing. That doesn't help you, right? Like again,
Yeah.
if Aisha had said, "Hey, I was so old that I remember when my parents converted to Islam after spending all these years. I remember them being total pagans, and then they converted and stuff like that." That would mean she's older. Saying she only remembers them as Muslims means she was younger. So how does that not fit in? In other words, imagine a 6-year-old 50 years later growing up in the Muslim community saying, hey, from the time I was able to form memories like 1 or 2 years ago, all I remember is my parents being Muslim. That means like she's 50? Where are you getting this? That's like insanely stupid. Did someone respond?
Code. I didn't see any response from Code.
Hey, Code
Do you
3R.
mind if I make a comment on that? I think it's super weird that I've seen that same worst book in 1 second.
Man, he's such an important guy.
Hey, what's up with people just making a claim and then we actually, hey, let's stop and address this, and then they go silent? Isn't that weird? It's a weird
Well,
thing.
last guy gave us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I said at least we got a thumbs up from the last guy.
Yes, that's what I mean. I will give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he's actually listening to the response and so on, and realized, oh, okay, maybe I got some bad information from Dawa guys. Guess what? You always get bad information from the Dawa guys. All right, we ready to jump back into some of these responses here?
Sorry, I've got a call. I'm here. The thing I was going to say is about that age thing. I think it's super weird that they keep bringing up. It's like a robotic response. They're like, "Oh, the person was 12 years old. The person is 3," and I'm like, "Where are you getting that from?" "Oh, it's like maybe from some Jewish exegetical text that I don't know or understand because I've never read Jewish exegetical texts and I'm not actually trained to talk about them. Yet I want people to be trained in Islamic texts, but I'm going to read Jewish texts that I don't have a clue or understand about, but I'm going to give my great understanding on them even though I don't know them." And the biblical text does not have any timeline or date because it's not a consideration. That's not an importance of the text. So more like genealogy is important, but these ages aren't that important. And also, like with the Rebecca situation, there's no way she could be 3 years old because she was carrying water. So the text, it's an impossibility. It was just a judgment of one particular rabbi who may have made that gesture, but who cares?
Yeah, it's not even clear. It's not even clear what he was saying in that passage. People think that they even misinterpreted him. You did have some later people who rolled with it and thought that he was speaking accurately and stuff. But other rabbis responded to him like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, it's not a consensus position or something like that.
No.
Like it's not like this is obviously what the text is. Like it's like yeah.
They're not scholars and they don't know what they're talking about, and it's just really embarrassing. You're trying to like the way that I see a lot of these Muslim apologists do is they don't actually defend Islam. All they do is attack other religions. So I'm like, what? At the end of the day, let's grant that. Let's steelman the position and say, okay, maybe that's true. How does that make Islam true? Let's say that then if that were the case, and there is child marriage, it's so disgusting and gross to me, just the idea of it. But let's say that is the case. Well, then all of the people are wrong. That's the answer. That everybody's wrong. It's not that you know.
Yeah, or you could take Mohammed Hijab's position, which is that if there's a possibility of something else, then you can't use it as an argument at all. That's his new argument. He's saying that there's a possibility that Aisha wasn't 9 when the marriage was consummated, So because there's a possibility, it means you can't use it as an argument at all to reject Islam with. So if there's a possibility that Rebecca wasn't 3, if there's a possibility, well, then you can't use it as an argument, according to Mohammed Hijab.
I hear that. It's so, ugh. I don't know why people defend this at all. It's just really disgusting and gross, but.
We agree with you on that, our Muslim friend. All right, let's see what we got here. So this is what he said. So this is what Hijab says, and then I guess people are going to respond here. Hey, Zaid again says, Mohammed Hijab stopped leading the Ummah astray. Ouch. By suggesting there could be a legitimate second opinion on this matter. A plausible alternative view cannot exist when Aisha herself is the one narrating her own age. And then he's got the age of Aisha, an appraisal of the traditional and revisionist position. So we could check that out at some point, but we're fine. We'll just go through some of these responses. How would you explain the strong hadith where she states her age herself then? All right.
Strong hadith, yeah.
Strong hadith. Let's see.
It's very strong.
What do we have here? Some traditionalist revisionists, such as Abdul Rahman Kandalawi, argue that Hisham ibn Urwa, whom they show, citing al-Dahabi and others, suffered from memory issues, simply made an throwing this guy under the bus. Simply made an error in transmitting this hadith from Aisha. While there are counter arguments based on other chains of transmission, yes, namely chains of transmission that don't have him, and they're all saying the same thing, I'm only elaborating his view here. One must also remember this issue is a historical exegesis and doesn't carry Aqidah or fiqh implications, so it doesn't matter too much how old people believe she was. Doesn't matter if you... Dude, it matters a lot, right? You're talking about some serious problems if Islam allows and promotes sex with prepubescent girls, dude. And as far as, he's only concerned with, can you maintain this position and still be a Muslim? Well, yes, obviously you can, but what you're saying is you're going in the direction of hadiths are garbage. And that would affect a lot of things from your religion. More than 90%, Dark Lyric says, more than 90% of Sunni scholars confirm Aisha was 9, yet you pick a random Kendalvi guy over the Ummah, clearly cherry-picking to please non-Muslims. At this rate, you will justify zina, alcohol, and anything that's normal today. Ouch. Well, matter of fact, haven't we seen him? Haven't we seen him on the beach with a big bottle of brandy?
We've seen him on the beach. Yeah.
Seen him on the beach. We've seen him stoned out of his mind or drunk, one or the other, but acting really, really weird.
Yeah. Also, I would say it's probably more than 90% of Sunni scholars. I don't know where that figure is from, but I think it's like 99% of Sunni scholars confirming the age of Aisha as 9. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's way higher than 90%. I think it's like 99%.
Yeah, it would be weird to. I mean, they said more than 90%. Yeah, if you're talking about Sunni scholars having, if you're talking about Sunni scholars, how would you be a Sunni scholar? Like Sunni means you're taking these sources seriously, and you've got over 200 of them. Anyway, so this guy put ChatGPT on here. Do deep research and roughly what percentage of Ahl Sunnah ulama agree that Aisha was 9? Facts and short answer. Short factual answer. The report that Aisha was 6 at marriage and 9 at consummation comes from multiple Sahih Hadith, especially Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. The narration became the classical traditional Sunni position and was widely accepted for centuries. Rough percentage, there is no exact statistical percentage recorded by scholars, but based on historical scholarship, traditional Sunni scholarship, pre-modern, 90 to 95% accepted the 9-year view. Modern period, minority disagreement, roughly 5 to 15%. Why this estimate? Majority of mainstream Sunni scholars uphold the Bukhari narration. The hadith is considered strong and canonical, so it dominated Sunni orthodoxy. Interesting to know. Wow, Muslims should be cautious now. Oh, what the hell I just saw here? This is a Western Dawa mafia who is trying to make Islam westernized 18 to 19. He and they suffered memory issues. No one should take you serious in Islamic matters anymore. He had memory issues. What do you think about that, Jai? What do you think about this issue of, he had memory issues?
Yeah, I was immediately, my mind went to like the different Qurans that we have today, and the different transmitters of these Qurans, like Hafs, for example, his teacher, they all have these problems of like memory issues or being called a liar. So if you go by what these scholars say and you take it really seriously, you don't have the Quran, you don't have the Hadith, you don't have anything. You don't have anything.
Wild stuff. No one should, guys, this is serious. No one should take you seriously in Islamic matters anymore. That's them responding to hijab. They don't like messing with that age of Aisha. We get it. You're trying to uplift the image and reputation of our beloved prophet, but assuming the 17, 19-year-old age is correct, it still will not save him from the vile insults, because they then say a man in his early 50s marrying a 17-year-old is wrong. Yes, we would have an issue with a man in his 50s marrying a 17-year-old. But
I think Sophia was 17.
Yeah, Mary the Copt was probably pretty young too. So he did have some other young wives and slave girls and so on. So we would still have an issue with that. Not nearly as much as we have a problem with a 9-year-old. It's a different category, guys. It's a different category. Especially when she sounds prepubescent. Guys, so the idea here is it wrong for an adult to have sex with a 15-year-old? Yeah. What about a 12-year-old? Okay, that's also wrong, but it would be more wrong because it's more harmful. What about a 9-year-old? Okay, yeah, that would be more harmful. And you could go all the way back to a baby. Well, that would be wrong too, and it would be way more wrong. So the only thing you could say in defense of this is at least he waited until she was 9 and didn't do something with her when earlier, because that would be a bigger problem. In other words, the younger you get, the more of a problem it is. Mm-hmm. So, but that's kind of the similar response to Fareed. Why are you defending this? Why are you going to try and answer this and make people feel better about Islam when they're just going to have other problems? Well, you don't realize we regard these as pretty serious problems. I think that's the issue for them. They don't regard it as a serious problem, so they don't understand how screwed up this is. Prophet was 40 years old when his prophetic mission began, 13 years after his hijrah began at the age of 53. In the book of Al-Isaba, volume 8, page 16, Ibn Hajar says Aisha was born 4 to 5 years after the prophet's mission. Who the heck is Dadao? Get out with your Ikhwani gang. They're like making fun of him.
Yeah, well, actually, I was actually surprised that Dadu actually did say this, because he actually is like a huge sheikh in like the Arabic-speaking world, and he basically he didn't say that he just said it's a possibility. But I was really surprised he said that, because he's usually known for like his traditional stances on things. So at least in this case, Mohammed Hijab is he's at least relying on someone who said something, but he's not, but he's still wrong, but it's like kind of surprising the source he got it from.
If Muslims have no problem with Aisha being 9, they will go through and try to find every obscure source and do calculus to figure out Aisha's age when she herself said she was 9 and playing with dolls. Yeah. Back in the days, or even a few decades ago, the women were engaged to the groom at a very early age for protection, and when she reached puberty, her parents gave her in marriage to the groom. The female mortality rate of a young girl was very low 1,400 years ago in Arabia. This is just stupid nonsense. What?
Imagine that though, like the mortality rate. Both of these things can't be true, right? Where like Aisha's older sister was like 100 years old, but yet when they were like 5 years old, they were like adults. Yeah, it's like wait. So
you have to be careful with the mortality rates, because these were during times when you had high rates of children dying, right?
Yeah.
That was high rates. Like all of Muhammad's sons died as children, right? So it was just common back then. But guess what? All that gets calculated into mortality rates. Basically, if you survived early childhood, the mortality rate shot up. If you survived to being an adult, your mortality rate shot up. And so, yeah, this is just silly. And the issue here, when she reached puberty, not what the Quran requires and not what happened with Aisha. I think we need to change our argument to be Aisha's age is irrelevant as it's disputed, or principles are aligned with anthemic tradition where age of marriage is legal and when girl is at a marriageable age, as was with early Christian and Jewish theology. We want to change our argument to Aisha's age is irrelevant. Are you insane? Well, look what he said. Aisha's age is irrelevant as it's disputed. Disputed by who? Mohammed Hijab saying, oh, you don't have to trust these over 200 hadiths. You can just go with what this guy said and do some weird calculations and conclude, nope, she was way older. Stop attributing this view to Sheikh Dawah when he himself does not embrace it.
Yeah, he just said it's possibility or something like that.
Sheikh Dawah, the guy who has imam spit in his hand and he wipes his face with it? Ugh, nasty. When is Mohammed Hijab not in the forefront of a heresy? Yasser Qadi's brainchild.
That's crazy. Wow.
That's brutal. Mohammed Hijab went from Salafi to Ikhwani to roid-raging, arrogant nut job to Kalamist to his final devolution to a full-out Hadith rejecter in less than a decade. Wild stuff. Guys, these are Muslims just blasting away at him. Why? Because he said, maybe she wasn't 9.
Wow. So Ikhwani is like Muslim Brotherhood. So there's like mentality where like, oh, let's just get along, kind of mindset.
I love that you put a weak hadith above an authentic one. not just one authentic hadith. You got tons of them. Dawah absolutely does not accept this view. Interesting. Wild stuff here. All right. Definitely want to check out. Wanted to check out. Okay, that's hijab. Oh, I don't think we can read this long thing. He tried to wear him down. Hang on. I'll just show it, guys.
It's like a tactic.
Yeah, I'll just show what he did. We're familiar with this with the Dawa guys. They try to say so much that you're just like, there's no way I'm even reading that, let alone responding to it. Let's see here. All right, got this up. Look at this, guys. So everyone jumps all over Mohammed Hijab. And what does he have here? Look at this.
Dude, what in the world is he thinking? Like, he's talking to Muslims. No offense, Issa, but I mean, it's like, dude, this is like, wow.
Look at this. He still includes this in here.
Yeah.
Look at the top there. In yet another narration, Sahih Bukhari 2297, Aisha states that since she reached the age when she could remember things, she has seen her parents worshiping according to the right faith of Islam. Yeah. Okay, I don't, like, this makes me think he's like beyond stupid. He doesn't understand. Dude, this does not help you. You would have to, if you wanted to say she was old, you'd have to say she remembers her parents long before they converted to Islam. She's saying she only remembers her parents as Muslims. What's that mean? Well, guess what? If she was 2 years old when Muhammad had sex with her, she would say, I only remember my parents being Muslims. That's not helping you. Are you stupid? Oh gosh, what is this?
Apparently, wait, one second. Apparently, there's one second.
What?
There was something up there about rejecting the hadith about Muhammad's urination or something like that. This guy's obsession with urinating.
Oh yeah, it is. This point is not to reject any single report, but to illustrate, I'm in the middle of the page, to illustrate that the Ummah's hadith scholars have routinely subjected even Aisha's own transmissions soundly chained as they are to this kind of comparative historical analysis exactly as they did with her statement on the Prophet's urination.
What's up with this guy in urine? This guy's insane, man.
What about the pee-pee? Explain the pee-pee if you think she was not 19. Oh my goodness. Guys, look at this. What is this?
And then he's a post underneath it too. Like he has like a follow-up on it.
Oh my goodness, guys. He has a follow-up to that?
Yeah.
Oh boy, hang on. Where are the responses to this?
It could be the same post, but just it's like a numbered form. Maybe he thought that people wouldn't read it.
Oh,
if it
okay,
wasn't
yeah,
like-
I see it. Oh my goodness. Then he
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Hang on. This is bad, guys. This is like
Now he can like refer people to like, you didn't respond to point number 5 or point number 19.
Oh, you didn't respond to it because you can't. It's too powerful. Again, guys, this is a Dawa strategy when they just try to give you like too much dumb stuff to respond to, and then there's like, I'm not responding to all this. But anyway, let's scroll through this one more time real quick. Let me just read the beginning here. There's no way we're reading this, guys, which is the point. It's what's the goal here for people who aren't actually able to follow the arguments? They would just look at this and go, oh, wow, he said a bunch of stuff. He must have had an airtight case without actually reading it or understanding it. Let's read the beginning. In the broader scholarly discourse concerning the historical details of Sayyida Aisha, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're not reading this.
No.
No, this is just stupid. Hang on. Let's go down here to his individual points. Oh, my goodness. Look at this. You
Then
see?
go to direct people to like, you have to respond to point number 3, point number 5, point number 7, and otherwise I'm not going to respond to you.
You see? How can you see? You're not refuting all of this. You're not refuting it. Okay, what do we got here? All right. Here we have his points, guys.
Yeah, he tried to make it a little bit more readable.
Okay, the narration in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim states that Aisha was married at 6 and the marriage was consummated at 9. This remains the majority classical position. This discussion is purely methodological. It does not endorse any alternative age, such as 18 or 19. 2, recognizing that an age of 19 is academically plausible. Do you know what plausible means?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah. If you wanted to say logically possible or something like that, I would grant that. Plausible? No, the only way it's, yeah. And here's the issue, and that's why Muslims are flipping out. I would grant that it's plausible if you grant that your hadith, your entire methodology is garbage and you can't trust these sources. That's when I would grant that it's plausible. If you're saying that they're even somewhat pretty darn reliable, we got over 200 of them, man. We got over 200. Anyway, recognizing that an age of 19 is academically plausible in light of historical cross-references does not mean endorsing that age. It simply highlights that sincere scholarly discussion is allowed. The central point, the Neo-Salafi claim that every single hadith in the Sahihain is beyond all...
That's Bukhari.
That's the
and
Sahih
Muslim.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the, what's that? The 2 Sahihs? So
That's Sahih. Yeah.
Is beyond all academic question is simply not the position of the Salaf or classical Sunni scholarship. The ulama have always distinguished clearly strict scrutiny for law and creed, but greater flexibility for purely historical and biographical reports. Imam blah, blah, blah say, we are severe with chains for halal, haram, and legal rulings, but lenient for virtues, rewards, and historical stories. Even within the Sahihain, critical engagement was normal. Ibn Hajar wrote an entire book to verify Bukhari's mulakat, incomplete chains, blah, blah, blah. Is he getting to... What's he doing now? He's not giving any evidence. He's just...
He basically
it sounds like he's just saying we can
possible to question Bukhari.
Yeah, it just sounds like sounds like he's saying we're allowed to question Bukhari. I would
But none of those scholars question the age. They're just questioning other things.
Yeah,
like
and again, just saying you can question something in Bukhari is not the same as saying, hey, we have 200 hadiths saying one thing and nothing saying anything else, but it's plausible that all 200 plus of those is wrong, and we can just make something up.
Yeah. So someone questioned Muhammad's urine, so now we can question Aisha's age, like that kind of thing.
Hey, he's back on the urine.
Aisha's
sound report says the Prophet never urinated standing, yet Hudhaifa's report in the same Bukhari says he did once on a journey. Scholars reconciled them rather than accepting Aisha's words absolutely. Well, I mean, if Aisha's just saying I never saw him, if Aisha's just saying I never saw him I never saw him urinate standing. That's completely consistent with him being in a different spot, in a different place, in a different situation, and urinating standing up. So
What
that's
a
not
weird
even
thing to
proving it.
report on too. Such a weird thing to report on. Like
Sure.
the guys that battle with Muhammad, and he's like, I saw him standing when he was urinating. Like, why would you? Such a silly thing to say.
He's still just screwing up 2297 there. It doesn't help you. That goes against you, dummy. This is further weighed against the timeline of her sister Asma bint Abi Bakr, who was reported to be 10 years older, actually 14 to 15 years older, if you put it all together, who was reported to be 10 years older and died at the age of 100. Again, this is that's weak, and extremely stupid and sloppy. Scholars also rejected certain narrations, blah, blah, blah.
Man, he's actually equipping us with all sorts of stuff here, actually. There's some stuff I want to look into. It's like we can use these in arguments, actually.
So the Prophet's marriage to Aisha 1400 years ago is entirely defensible in its historical and cultural context. This point is made to show both Muslims and non-Muslims, even strong disagreement with the reported age does not undermine Islam itself. Our faith stands firmly on the Quran and authentic Sunnah. That's what you're calling into question, dude. And you're the dude who says if you just look at the Quran, you'll conclude that you could bang a 5-year-old.
Wow. Not
one historical number.
Well, the historical number comes from the authentic Sunnah.
Yeah, that's weird. Thanks, I learned something, but now I doubt all Sahih Hadiths. Like, why should we trust them?
Nice.
The slander of prophets is a universal pattern of corruption in the older books. The slander is on different, normalizing deviance and sowing confusion by projecting the indefensible. This is a lie with an obvious motive and should be condemned by all. What? You're ignorant. This hadith is not just narrated in Bukhari, but also in Sahih Muslim. And, it's in a bunch. Sue yourself. Did he just say sue yourself? Because he likes to sue people. He said sue himself.
I think that's see yourself. Maybe even say see for your. I don't know. Yeah, sue yourself. Yeah, you should sue it.
As the report from Aisha is sound, the issue is memory, not legitimacy. Even if she misremembered her exact age, she wouldn't have cited 9 unless it was socially accepted, indicating a norm at the time, not an exception. Yeah. It's hard to watch this. She was on a swing. Not sure if the Nasai is mentioned also. Summary of arguments of those who disagree with hijab. 1, so you don't believe in the previous scholars. 2, calling names. 3, memes. 4, so you think Imam Bukhari was wrong. 5, lol. 6, so there's someone defending hijab. Why are you trying to please the West? You're going astray. Look, here you have. Ain't nobody got time to read all that. Weak stance,
Exactly.
Man. In one of many contemporary time period norm comparisons,
here we
Isabel, oh my goodness. Look at this. Look, this is an example. Look, guys. Isabel of France, daughter of King Charles VI, was 6 years old when she married England's King Richard II, 29 years old, in 1396. Go suck on sour grapes. Guys, this is what we're talking about with them giving this stupid response. Why is this stupid? Why is this stupid?
cares?
1, so suppose you did it. Suppose Richard II had sex with a 6-year-old. We'd say, well, Richard II was screwed up and did something messed up. How? So that's one issue. He is not a pattern of conduct. If he did something evil, we would say Richard II did something evil. I have never met and never will meet someone who takes King Richard II as a pattern of conduct that all other people should be imitating. So that's if this were correct. But guess what? Guys, anyone can look this up. It takes 5 minutes. This was a political marriage. The marriage was never consummated. He treated her like a daughter. And then he died and she went off and married someone else. This marriage was never consummated. They never had sex. How is this a defense of Muhammad having sex with a 9-year-old when this was a politically arranged marriage and he said, I'm not having sex with her. She's too young, and never did. How's this a defense? But they'll say anything in defense. Stupid. No one reading all that. Yeah, it's good we have people seeing this. No one reading all that. It's sad how people became submissive to the West. If the age of consent was 20, then these modern scholars would say Aisha was 20 when she married the Prophet. Yeah, if they said 30, then suddenly Aisha would be 30. All right. Lol, after all these years, these so-called Dawa bros been arguing with every Tom, Dick, and Harry that the beloved prophet of God was a pedo, and now he actually read a bloody book and came to the conclusion, oh, there's a difference of opinion in this matter. What a surprise.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too. Like this guy goes through all these defenses, all these arguments, and now he just completely abandons the. Well, not abandons, but you can tell he's leaning towards abandoning it.
Oh, here we go. Check this out. You are spamming old, repeated, false arguments. That's what I'm saying. Like everything he's saying, it's stuff that we heard 10, 15 years ago. And not just Christians, but Muslims themselves refuted this by going through the sources and saying you're lying about these sources. So you are spamming old, repeated, false arguments. All your arguments are either false or fabricated. Asma wasn't just 10 years older. This author, that's right, she wasn't. This author also says all the sources without exception say that she, i.e. Asma, was 10 years older than Aisha. That is not the case. Ad-Dahabi said in Sierra blah, 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 Asma was more than 10 years older than Aisha. Yeah, I've seen 10 plus a few, which suggests like 14 or 15. And that actually fits the timeline of her, of Aisha being being 4 or 5. Being born 4 or 5 years after Muhammad started his little.
Oh wait, let's see that comment more. Let's see that comment. The one he's like, disgusting. Muhammad is.
Which one?
Right. Oh, right there. This one.
Oh, disgusting to see Mohammed Hijab cave into the kuffar in this discussion. Classical position is the authentic position. Other historical references are just cope and naivety. Unfortunately, this is the signs of the hour of how scholars themselves will be corrupted as good scholars die out.
Ouch.
Ouch. Ouch, 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 ouch. Look at this. Let them convulse. She was 6. So effing what? We don't owe anyone any explanation. Her father gave her hand in marriage. That's Fareed's defense. Yeah. How can it be grape if there's parental consent? If her father, Abu Bakr, had no problem with it, then who cares? Okay, so if her father had no problem with it, then you'd have to say, like, remember Sheikh Asim al-Hakim? He said, even if my daughter was 6 months old, I would give her to the Prophet. Okay, so, and this guy would have to agree. Look, if a father agreed to give a 6-month-old, you'd have to have no problem with it, right? Because that's her father. You guys are nuts, man. Mohammed Hijab, Hazrat Aisha's marriage age issue has fueled so much blasphemy against the Prophet, largely due to treating Bukhari and Muslim as infallible. At times, it seems defending the Sahihain is prioritized over safeguarding the Prophet's honor. Well, notice there's like, you have to pick. Do you want to defend the sources or do you want to defend Muhammad's honor? You got to pick. You can't do both, because if you treat the sources as reliable, then Muhammad looks really bad. So if you want to protect him from criticism, you have to question your sources. This is weird, wild stuff. All right, guys. So as you can see, this stuff goes, it's endless. I did want to take a look at Adnan Rashid.
Oh, yeah. He hated response too.
Yeah, which I haven't read these, but Adnan, as far as I recall, sort of Salafi extraordinaire, so he's not going to like this. But I put him on the thumbnail because I saw him, he was saying Mohammed Hijab is wrong on this. But, I mean, guys, that's why it's called Dawa Wars. This is another popular UK Dawagandist. So look, part 1. He says, Mohammed Hijab is grossly mistaken here. He is using a dubious source named Kandhalvi, who was debunked by Hadith scholars. I have read his book, and he made serious factual blunders on this issue. Kandhalvi used Hisham bin Urwa's example to reject Bukhari narration. Okay, that's part 1. Part 2. There are other chains going back to Aisha, completely independent of Hisham bin Urwa. Yep, that's what I was pointing out earlier. Kandhalvi, in other words, so just saying, hey, this guy had a bad memory. Okay, well, you have the source from other people that didn't include him, and they're all saying the same thing. Completely independent of Hisham. Kandhalvi took his theory from a Jahal Hadith rejecter and failed to do basic research on the topic. I have a lecture on this specific topic. Ooh, Age of Aisha historical analysis. We might have to keep going through this stuff, man.
Yeah, I think he referenced that in his discussion with Daniel, and it's like apparently he put like a lot of research into it. So yeah, maybe we can check that out one day.
Part 3. Also, this article highlights how ignorant Kandhalvi and his sources were. This is a must-read for anyone interested in the topic. Oh, that's what the other guy linked to.
Oh, okay.
Huh. Interesting. What is this? The ignorant folks like Adnan Rashid can't explain why even 1% of hadith have not been preserved by this ummah. He and his ignorant ustads and peers believe all hadiths from Rasulullah, blah, blah, reach us, Bukhari, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's not helping you, dude. All right. He's going after hijab as well now. Hey, look, you have someone defending. Aisha was 18 or 19. Her innocence is confirmed in the Quran. Marrying a 6-year-old goes against the innocence. Oh, my goodness. Also, the mother. So now it's just like principle based. No, they wouldn't do that to a little girl. Also, the mothers of the believers is held to the highest modesty in the Quran. Why on earth would they disclose what age with they had sex? If she,
They
is
discuss
this
a
just
lot more
saying?
than that.
Yeah, is this
lot
just
more than
saying
that.
like, oh no, they wouldn't talk about that stuff? What are you talking about? Aisha talks about having to like constantly scrub all the semen off them. It's like, why would they talk about that? Why would she talk about that? Say, hey, they had the spot on the wall, the famous spot on the wall that became a tourist attraction, where Muhammad used to wipe his semen on the wall, like he'd rub it off him and then wipe it on the wall. And it's like, if you're just going to say, no, why would they share that? It's because they took him as a pattern of conduct, so they'd start sharing everything they could remember about the dude in every situation, how he went to the bathroom, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Anything else we need to cover?
Like you said, there's probably going to be a part 2.
Yeah, because this seems ongoing, and we will need to go, because I'd actually like to go through it. Like Islam QA did a everything Mohammed Hijab is saying. I said this is all old, but they've already like destroyed all of that. They've destroyed all that stuff, and they went through the sources, and no, that's not what it says. No, that's a lie. That is not what it says. Quit twisting this and so on. They went through it, and Hijab's just taking all the same stuff that's been completely debunked and just this is the proof. Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
I could see Mohammed Hijab probably making a video about this because his ego, it's not gonna stop.
He already made his video with his what did he call it? This KO response, which is stupid.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
this one might be directed towards Muslims though.
Yeah, he needs to. Yeah, good. Dawa wars. Oh boy. Did want to check out one other little clip, and that's something Jai put together with a couple of guys saying what their perspectives are. Let's see.
So the question is a very common one, and that is that many people, non-Muslims and sometimes even Muslims, are perturbed that how come Aisha, our mother, was married at a very young age.
That it is possible that she was older. It is also possible that she was 6 at the time of engagement or 7.
You find some so-called scholars.
I graduated from the Islamic University of Islamabad with a master's focused in Hadith.
So-called scholars making these estimates based on some other evidences. It's like for example, Aisha in one narration she says, I was engaged at the age of 6. In another narration she says, I was engaged at the age of 7.
Sometimes she said 6, sometimes she said 7.
That shows there's a difference of opinion, and therefore we cannot trust anything.
But did she actually know her age or not?
And by the way, that reasoning there, hey, there's difference of opinion, 6 or 7. I pointed out there's all kinds of stuff that were somewhere on the borderline of when I was 6 or 7. If you ask me, unless it was something specific, like, oh, I remember it was the 4th of July, in which case I could figure it if I would know it was after my birthday or something like that. Unless there's some detail where I actually knew, there's all kinds of things that happen in the age of 6 to 7 where I would not remember whether I was 6 or 7. But Fareed just said it, man. He just said it. It's like, oh, well, there's disagreement about 6 or 7. Therefore, we don't know anything about the issue. Yeah.
So I wonder
that's what Hijab was doing, right? Like,
Exactly.
there was this hadith about the urine, and she said she never saw Muhammad pee standing up because he was a sitzpinkler, a man who sits to pee. But this other hadith said that on a military expedition, Muhammad did pee standing up. So you see, we don't have to trust Aisha. Aisha can be wrong. Well, no, she could have been completely correct in saying she never saw him pee standing up. That doesn't mean he never. Yeah, if you were to conclude, therefore he never peed standing up, that could be a mistake, but that would be a sloppy inference, right? That's different from Aisha saying how old she was and a ton of other people saying how old she was and you going, but maybe she was like more than twice as old.
Allah knows best.
So that's what they say. That's what they do. Subhanallah. And they bring the weakest of evidences to prove to prove that she was 18. So for example, they'd say that Asma bint Abu Bakr, who's the sister of Aisha, was 10 years older than Aisha.
Asma, the older sister of Aisha radiallahu anha, she was 10 years older than Aisha radiallahu anha.
Okay? And that she was 100 years old when she passed away in the year 73 after Hijrah.
At the time of death, she was 100 years of age.
You guys are getting this? So Sheikh Uthman is one of the revisionists, right?
Yeah.
And you've got Fareed sitting here. Fareed's one of the not revisionists, right?
Yeah.
He's one of the he's classic. He's classic traditionalist. And so he's pointing out, here are the stupid things these guys say in order to do it. And you see Sheikh Uthman saying the exact things. And then you see Mohammed Hijab in his post saying the exact same things.
Prove that Asma was 100 years old. Can you find Asma saying, I was 100 years old in this year, which I'm about to die in? You can't find...
Guys, you getting that? How do you know she was 100 years old? Do you have a hadith where she says, I was 100 years old? No, okay. You have hadith of Aisha saying she was 9. So you're not going to trust those. You're going to trust... This is wild stuff. This is massive picking and choosing what you want to believe.
Thing like that. It's based on a historian's logical guess, a guess. And this is put ahead of Aisha saying I was 9 in multiple sources according to multiple eyewitnesses. Subhanallah. Yes.
Some people they say that Aisha radiallahu anha, and particularly that age or that time period of history, they didn't have a proper accounting of the years, and so she couldn't have known that she was.
That even Ibn Hajar and Tabari, they were not able to produce exact ages of when Aisha was born. Now it's very important to understand why. The Arab had no calendar. Even today, even though we have calendars today,
saying they didn't have calendars. That's what they do. Yeah, guys, it was kind of you had the guy kind of in the background, the Q&A who was asking Fareed, and it was what do people say? They didn't have calendars back then. How would you? They didn't even know. They didn't have a good grasp of calculating ages and stuff like that. And then Sheikh Uthman doing it right here.
Country has a calendar.
Little side note: it is weird that they're all blasting hijab when Sheikh Uthman's been doing this for years.
Yeah.
No country now that doesn't have a calendar. But even today, those of you born in other countries, if you ask your grandmother, how old are you? She'll tell you, well, I don't really know.
She couldn't. Okay, so would Aisha? Okay, so the question was, they didn't have proper years or ways of counting the years.
The Arab had no calendar.
Well, first of all, they did. They could count the years, and there is a lot of documentation of years at the time. So first of all, that's not factual. Would Aisha make a 9-year mistake?
That's the point, yeah.
So that's just that.
That's the thing. I could grant a 1-year mistake, maybe even a 2-year mistake, something like that. Mm-hmm. But Jai was pointing out, this is your marriage. It seems like kind of a big thing that you would, you'd kind of remember how old you were for something big like that. But even then, if you wanted to grant, maybe, plus or minus, also keep in mind, if you're saying she might not remember accurately, and so maybe she was 5 years older. Okay, if she couldn't remember accurately, maybe she was 5 years younger. Maybe she was 4 when Muhammad consummated the marriage with her, right? We don't know. Okay, so maybe it's actually much worse, right? Right? She didn't remember. In fact, if her memory's that sloppy, well, your memory gets really sloppy when you're like really old, and it gets sloppier the younger you are. So Why not? Why not? Why not assume she was like 3 when Muhammad consummated the marriage? That's why she had problems remembering her age. That's the point. If you're just going to speculate and say maybe she didn't remember right and maybe she was twice as old. Okay, maybe she was twice as young.
Yeah, there was no way to count years. Yeah, right. So no way to count years, but Asma was 100, but there's no way to count years. So
That's the answer to that. Would she make a 9-year mistake? Nope. She didn't know what her age was. And by the way, that's not the opinion. That is not the opinion of people who disagree with us. They don't say that.
So right here, so Farid is kind of responding to now like the Mohammed Hijab types. But Uthman doesn't argue for the same reason that Mohammed Hijab is arguing. So what he's about to say here is not Uthman's position, but it does apply to Mohammed Hijab.
By the way, that's not the opinion. That is not the opinion of people who disagree with us. They don't say that Aisha did not know her age. They don't say that.
So she might not have known her own age.
They say that, the narrators made mistakes.
There is no weak narrator. There is no ilal in the wording. There's no grammatical errors. There's no iqlab in it. We say the hadith is sahih. Aisha radiyallahu said this, no doubt. But did she actually know her age or not? Allah knows best. I'm not discussing this to apologize for anything.
Oh, Muslims, don't apologize for the truth and don't distort the truth. There are Muslims that try to deny this. Oh, he didn't marry Aisha as a young girl. Ya akhi, look, that's not the way forward. We don't lie for the sake of our religion. Astaghfirullah.
Which Dawa guy doesn't lie for the sake of his religion? And yeah, I'm talking to you, Yasser Qadi. Biggest liar on the planet. Oh my, we don't lie. It's weird how they always run the reputation of being extremely truthful, and they're the biggest liars I've ever encountered in my life. Only a couple seconds left. Let's see.
We're not going to cover up the truth if people find it embarrassing. This is the reality. Deal with it.
To be honest, mutawatir. To be honest, it's mutawatir evidence. Her saying, I was 9 years old.
Our Prophet ﷺ married a young girl.
And we are proud of this.
And we're proud of that.
It's just funny, Sheikh Yasser Qadi, if you're thinking, what hasn't he lied about? Guys, his dad is one of the people who popularized the one perfect Quran, perfectly preserved, not one letter of difference between any 2 Qurans in history. His dad, Mazhar Qazi, is one of the people who popularized that. And Sheikh Yasser Qadi, we've got videos of him saying that there hasn't been one letter of difference between any 2 Qurans since the time of Uthman. And we know he knew it was a lie because we have videos of him where he's talking to people who are becoming scholars and saying, of course, there are different Qurans in different parts of the world, even today, that have different words and different letters and different meanings and stuff like that. So he's flat out lying. So this is and what was the point? The point was giving Muslims a false confidence that their book is somehow miraculously preserved and therefore being protected by God and therefore from God. And he was totally happy lying for what? To deceive people, so that you have some evidence for Islam and so that Muslims think there's something really miraculous about their book. We don't lie. You don't lie, dude? And then, of course, so anyway, guys, when we're talking about that, when we're talking about him saying one thing to students of knowledge and something different at the popular level, all that led up to the holes in the narrative interview, because he was two-faced. He's saying different things to different groups, and then behind the scenes to the students of knowledge, he's telling them, actually, I'm not even sure we can answer this or make sense of all this, all these differences and so on, in terms of our traditional explanations of ahruf and kirat and so on. And so anyway, people realized, people like Farid notice these guys are saying some seriously messed up stuff behind the scenes. Let's call them on this stuff. Let's expose them for this stuff. And then Hijab, tactical genius he is, well, let me just get him on a big live stream and we will figure all this out. And then people will see there's only one Quran. And that was the interview that completely destroyed the myth of perfect preservation. Good times. Fortunately, Hijab's still at it. And now he's casting doubt on the Hadith methodology. And notice the parallel, right? It was Hijab and Yasser Qadi who destroyed this myth of perfect preservation. Other people were doing it, but we were working on it for years. And then you had Hatun show up to Speaker's Corner with 26 different Arabic Qurans. That all kind of led to some tension, and then this was just a bad time if you were being two-faced and saying, behind the scenes, actually, I'm not sure we can make sense of this. So this kind of pushed them to demand, we need to get to the bottom of this, not in the Zut sense, but then they went ahead and tried to solve it and completely destroyed the myth. But notice the usual suspects, Mohammed Hijab and Yasser Qadi, completely destroyed that. What did Yasser Qadi say? Wasn't that like early last year when he said there's no academic who trusts our methodology? He said, no, there's none. And then he even said, so I have to wear like two different hats. He said, when I'm among scholars, I have to act in a certain way. And then when I'm in the mosque, then I'm Sheikh Yasser Qadi and I can treat these things as reliable. And so what's he saying? He's saying their methodology and their hadiths cannot stand up to any sort of academic scrutiny. You just have to, you just mindlessly trust this stuff because you're taught to. He admitted that. And what do you have Hijab doing? Throwing the hadith under the bus. Wow. These are good times, man. These guys are destroying the traditional position, man. Just destroying it, wrecking it, man. Wild times, guys. Oh, wait, hang on. Before that, I got to add this super sticker here from Shameful Music. Why is your music so shameful? People used to say, don't ask a lady about her age or a man about how much money he makes. Funny how it relates to this live stream. Yeah, both the age. The age. No, I'm pointing out, guys, what you make in a live stream just is totally different for every single live stream. And it's not something you need to ask me. All you'd have to do is sit down and every super chat add it up and
calculate,
subtract a third, and you'd know exactly what was made during that live stream. Let's see. I was plagued by demonic visions for 6 years and spoke face to face with several prior to being saved, but I don't talk about demons nearly as much as Nordine. Learn when it's appropriate, brother. Yeah, that's kind of my issue. Mirandi is, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Yeah.
We were reading about that because we didn't know who he was.
Goes on Pierce Morgan. Sunnah 2 has a good list of relevant references. Search Aisha's age. Yep. You know what they also have on Sunnah 2? Hadith about al-Zut. Look at that. That was perfect timing. Al-Zut. Why does the word al-Zut sound so darn funny? It does. Al-Zut. Muhammad was the Robin Hood of strength. Because he took the strength of other men and gave it to himself. That's funny. That's pretty funny. The Prophet al-Zut's peace be upon him from Allah was powerful. Jack Ray, by the way, thanks for the channel memberships there. Farid is proud. Pride Moped Parade. Why don't you talk about lemons and their influence in Islam? There's no way Muslims believe Yajuj and Majuj without lemons. Nice. Bukhari 5020. Kitab al-Kafi, volume 15, pages 750 to 754, 9 years old. Volume 15, is there a...
There's like an online, there's like a Sunnah.com, but like a Shia equivalent, and I have it.
No, I'm saying I have al-Kafi, but the translation I have is probably like between 8 and 10 volumes. So I'm guessing it's like I'm guessing there are different collections. In other words, I'm thinking, well, I can't go to volume 15 because the one I have is numbered differently. But it's like Sahih Muslim. I have Sahih Muslim. I have Sahih Muslim in a 4-volume version and in a 7-volume version, depending on who published it and so on.
Yep.
Found the Hadith. Googled the divine marriage of Ali. Ooh, here we go. Al-Kafi. Yeah. Hang on. Give me a second, guys. I actually want to find...
what's on that. I want to see what's on that website. Fatima. Let's see.
we want to grab this, not the way the Al-Zut grabbed Muhammad, but I'm just going to make sure I have this for later.
And I guess it's going to be Ali. Will be Ali will be in there.
All right, I got that for later. I will check that out. Very interesting. Yeah, too late for Reed. Deal's off, buddy. Deal's off. I said you'd get a golden ticket. Now you get nothing. No comment there, but thank you. Issa looks all dressed up for church. Yeah, he does. Like a banker, man. Except for your beanie on top, which makes you look like a weird cult leader. You look like a banker. The narrator of Asma being 10 years older than Aisha is graded as weak, and his independent works are to be rejected. Why are Muslims using weak sources to argue against Sahih and established positions? Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like multiple layers. It's like Asma being 10. One that's weak. Two, you have all sorts of differences. You have differences in the Muslim sources on how much older Asma is. The normal one I see is 14 to 15, right? But they'll go with this one because they can twist it into saying something they agree with. But even then, it's okay. How are you calculating it then? Oh, based on that she was 100 here. And okay, how do you know that? They're taking all these things and compiling, and meanwhile you got 200 plus hadiths just saying Aisha was 9. Okay, don't trust those. We're going to compile them and add this and add that, add this, and the ankle bone's connected to the shin bone, connected to the knee, and by the way, that's the real concern of the people who are responding to hijab. If you're just going to take anything you don't like in the Muslim sources, or anything you want to appease the non-Muslims on, you're just going to say, well, maybe. You can always find a maybe. You can always find a maybe because the sources are, if you're talking all their sources, you can always find some reason to doubt, and you can find a scholar who said almost anything on any of these issues. And so you can basically, using hijab's methodology and Sheikh Uthman's methodology, you could redefine Islam to mean whatever you want. Mm-hmm. You could twist it into anything you want. And that's what the Salafis and so on are worried about. Whenever Isa gets on, David instantly gets on his best behavior. Yeah, I know. It's weird. Isa, you have too much intelligence to be in Islam. Your IQ is far above 55. You see the proof. Rational thinking is required. That's a darn good point if I've ever seen one.
Oh, you're funny. I'm not too smart. The only thing I know is I don't know anything.
Oh, now he's claiming to be Socrates, guys. You heard it. Isa just claimed to be Socrates. You know the movie because you know every movie, so I know you know. Have you heard of Socrates? No, have you heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates? Moron.
Socrates.
Now you're talking Bill and Ted, man. Socrates and Beethoven. Also, someone in my church looks exactly like Isa. Coincidence? You see, this is the proof. Isa is Jewish, ex-Muslim Christian. That's powerful. You see, they suffered from memory issues. How then can they remember the Quran? So it's all a bad memory. Well, you see the proof. This is all important.
Well,
Upon receiving...
I was going to say, like, in the academic circles, people do not trust the hadith. Like, from academic scholars, that's something because I'm actually taking a class in hadith right now, because it's a part of, like, the Islamic studies degree. And what's interesting about this is that the scholars, like, through a scholarly lens, they're like, we don't trust the hadith system at all. It doesn't fit the scientific academic system at all. And so there's a great tension between, so like for Islamic scholars, it's like super important to like Western, what you would call, I guess, modern, so quote unquote Western scholarship. They're like, yeah, this is completely unreliable in every single sense. There's nothing reliable about hadith. The memory stuff, it's like, how do you rely on that? Like, you can't. And the problem is you have the rise of so many fabrications and forgeries. And it's like, you have 30,000 hadith plus. It's like, how do you gain those many hadith in, what, like 20 years? That's a lot. That's a lot to get in 20 years. And it's like, and it says a lot of stuff. Some hadith say, look, it's anachronistic, and it talks about some guy, some king, like a Turkish king that comes a lot later, an Ottoman king that comes a lot later, and it promotes them, and you're just like, wow. And the biggest thing, we've talked about this last time, is the Prophet of Islam himself said, don't write this stuff down. Kind of makes sense why not, because you face all of these problems now. We can see the consequences of it. So it's tough. And I get the counter argument. It's like, well, you need the hadith to know how to pray and all this kind of stuff, and that makes sense too. But there's a conundrum, and there's work that you need to do in resolving that.
And that's what the Salafis are actually a bit concerned about, right? They've seen what happens when those two worlds collide, the scholarly world and this is what we've been taught all our lives, collide. Some doubts are created when that happens. So they saw that back in the day. You had the scholarly world, which is, of course, there are different Qurans, and we can do textual criticism and examine manuscripts and stuff, and totally normal. But then you had the Dawa world and so on, and nope, perfect preservation, only one Quran ever, no differences ever in any. And eventually those worlds collided and led to all kinds of doubts. All the people who've been told one thing all their lives suddenly saying, wait a minute, this is reality? That's not what I was taught. And it leads to doubts. Now they're having the same thing with hadiths, and they're trying to keep that out. Mohammed Hijab, keep that, hey, we don't have to mindlessly trust this stuff nonsense out of here. Rough times. I read the Prophet says, upon receiving Muhammad's revelation, cough, cough, I can say Islam is the truth. Muhammad is generally mentioned in the Bible. You can find an M and an O and an H. There we go.
Good one.
Generally. Let's see. In a YouTube, two men discuss Ayatollah Khamenei, Shia, and Nika al-Muta with a 4 to 5 year old. They describe her screams. Dang. Khamenei says Islam allows in his book Tahrir. Yeah, we've seen the book. AP has brought it up multiple times. Creepy. I've refuted you by the red heifer and the corpse. Oh, Chris's recent debate. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, so we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to check that out.
Have you seen any Dawa guys simply make debauchery and hedonism as the case for Islam? It is more persuasive and coherent, right? I mean, I've seen those, but they're like translated, so there are parts of the world where they emphasize this, right? They're just talking about, and then they'll be we'll spend eternity banging virgins and they will be able to drink anything we want and eat anything we want, and it's like, well, that's why you do it.
I like Dawa got pretty close. He's like, the intolerance is the new proof of something like that. He's saying like the intolerance is the new proof for Islam or something.
Rebecca, a young woman that performs strenuous labor. Isa asks Allah to send him a table. Jewish girls are harder workers than Muhammad's fictional depiction of Muslim Jesus. Just saying. Yeah, get that, guys? So it's saying, Jesus, who's a carpenter, he's like, Allah, just give me a table. And meanwhile, Rebecca, she's out there doing the work of multiple people. Interesting. Need to also take into account the power dynamic imbalance issue. My 18-year-old niece married a 54-year-old. It was totally gross and made worse by the fact he was her middle school principal. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's creepy.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's different. But here's the thing. So that's a power imbalance, right? That's like the idea there is if you have a teacher, let's suppose the teacher's not 54 years old. Let's suppose the teacher is like 25-year-old and the student has reached the age of 18, right? You'd be a senior in high school and you've reached the age of 18. There's still like a power imbalance. So that's generally frowned upon, right? Like you are not equals meeting somewhere. There's someone who is like an authority over you and it makes everything look suspicious. Same thing with prison guards. You have male guards at female prisons and stuff sometimes. And then, but she consented. Well, you're also like in charge of her. So what's going on there? But think, if you put all that together, Muhammad is the prophet of Islam who must not be questioned on anything. Hey, give me your daughter. Okay, well, you're the prophet. And again, Sheikh Asim al-Hakim said, even if my daughter was 6 months old, if Muhammad wanted her, she's yours. Take her. I would not question him.
Yep.
That's creepy, weird stuff. David, your testimony is incredibly inspiring. I was deconstructing my faith until I found you, IP, and God Logic. What beginner-friendly books on the resurrection would you recommend? Thank you. Yeah, beginner friendly. I'll just give you the ones. So More Than a Carpenter, get the new version because they have a new updated version. So More Than a Carpenter, The Case for Christ. Now he covers a couple other issues in the Case for Christ, but they cover the resurrection and so that's by Lee Strobel. Case for Christ, that's Lee Strobel. More Than a Carpenter, as far as the updated version, that's Josh McDowell and Sean McDowell. And The Case for the Resurrection of Jesus, that's Mike Lacona and Gary Habermas. So those would be good places to go. Sahih Al Pacino, Muhammad said to the 30 men of Al Zut, say hello to my little friend. 7 out of 10 top child marriages nations are Muslim majority. Yeah, that's an ongoing issue. All thanks to Muhammad. D Wood, birthday resolution: drink more ice and wreck vocals. Is that wreck vocals?
Wreck vocals. Rest, maybe? I don't know.
Islam is false. This is reality. Just deal with it. Yasser Qadi. Oh, yeah. Islam is false. This is reality. Just deal with it. I don't understand. Dawa says we tell the truth but lie more than anyone. That is extremely strange to me. Favorite Islamic Quranic scholar?
Mohammed Hijab.
Like, what do you mean? Like
Mahmoud Ayub? Like, there's actually really good, much better scholars than this. Like, Mahmoud Ayub is a pretty great scholar. I was actually his student in college, so.
Well, you're biased. We don't trust you.
Yeah, I could be biased, but I think there's a pretty great breadth on him.
And it's like, do you mean like all time, or do you mean like in the world now? Favorite Islamic
like modern, scholar? Maybe. I think a lot of these people are not
Someone
scholars.
said junior.
I think that Christians are more scholars on Islam, like in these modern debate spaces, than the Muslims are. That's my personal opinion. I don't think many of these people are big scholars at all. They probably don't know that much about Islamic stuff, like, at all.
I'm going to go with Mufti Abu Layth.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That dude's awesome. Let's see.
Oh, he's funny.
Yeah, he is. Al Zut is Bloody Mary urban legend, but for Muslims. And we have Mo was in a band called 1.8-inch Nails. They had some bangers. Sorry, Isa. It's good you apologize to Isa. Very, very weird. Weird. All right, guys. Anything else before we head out?
Man, more Dawa wars. You guys can see Islam is collapsing. They're embarrassed by this topic. Keep pressing it. And hopefully, we hope and we pray that the Lord will use this as a way to get them out of Islam. And we pray that, they come to the Lord Jesus. So that's our hope and our prayer.
This is something I was wondering the other day. Where'd it go? Here we go. What happened to Sajid?
Oh. He goes like missing every now and then.
That's what I'm saying. And you just wonder, like, because he's one of the guys who was always like clearly ticked off. Like Fareed gets ticked off if people are saying stuff, but he doesn't seem like he's getting outraged and stuff. Whereas Sajid just seemed to be getting like more and more depressed about the direction that Dawa was going, and tried repeatedly to change the course, and it never worked. I'm just looking at his channel now, guys, to see what's been going
There's
on.
a video. He says a message from Sajid Lipim to everyone.
Oh yeah, that's 4 weeks ago. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna use the AI that YouTube has and see what is this about.
What's the
See what
video
they
about?
tell us. Yeah, what is he? The video is a message from Sajid regarding his mission to spread the teaching of Islam. Blah blah blah. Straight. Oh, he's announcing some sort of a academy. Gambia. Oh, okay. So he's like promoting different projects he's involved in. I thought he was like leaving YouTube or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might be time to give up because it ain't working.
Yeah.
You might want to go to some place and just start a little a little place where people aren't allowed to be exposed to everything that's going on in the Dawa scene, and you can control everything they hear. So, yep,
Okay.
rough times, man, rough times.
It's from like a month ago, so he's not super active. Oh, I forgot to share this actually.
And do you think a lot of these Dawa guys know Islam is false but engage in the grift anyway because it gives them status and power? I would say probably for some of them and not for others. So, yeah, some of them, yeah.
Yeah. There are some that we know for sure are living double lives and they don't actually believe Islam. And then there are others like that, like you can't really tell. It's a coin toss. But there's definitely some of them that are living a double life and they do not care about Islam at all. But the way I see it is like the devil doesn't care whether it's like a believing Muslim or just someone pretending, as long as he can try to, get them into hell, basically. So, yeah.
Any closing thoughts, Issa?
It's kind of embarrassing. Just reading all those comments, I was like, wow, it's pretty bad. I don't think there was really any substance at all. Like, there were a lot of attacks. I mean, the thing, I think if I was going to take a Christian apologist position, I would say, look, why are you punching yourself? That would be the question I would ask. You're attacking your own holy scriptures. You're not insulting me. You're insulting yourself. Do like a Taoist kind of Aikido type of thing, and you throw it back at, the force that's being used at you is you redirect the force back at them and say, look, you're not insulting me. You're insulting yourself. You're not hurting me. You're hurting yourself. And I think that's ultimately what these people do when they attack. They're like, they think it's brilliant, but I'm like, you just insulted the integrity of your own tradition. The claim of the tradition that you're claiming is that your tradition is a tradition that's ancient from the beginning of time. It's a continuous transmission. It's a perfected transmission. Especially if you're a Salafi, if that's the claim you're making, then you have to prove that claim. It looks bad. It looks really bad when they attack Rebecca, and I'm like, you don't even know where that's from. You're just repeating people. And I've heard that statement so many times. Like, I am recent to these kind of internet conversations for the last 3 years, and what's blown my mind is it's just the same repeated stuff. Like, there's nothing new. There's no engagement of the argument. It's like, this is what it is. And it's like, wow, unbelievable. And then you have people just really just saying, I think of what Shakespeare said, the sound and fury signifying nothing. We are like players on a stage, and it's just like that sound and fury signifying nothing. That's literally what I felt those comments were. And it's just, I don't know why you would put that out there. It's there for the rest forever. So there you go.
Yeah, these are some rough times. So basically, for a long, long time, you had Muslim leaders with a lot of power over the people under them. And they could kind of say whatever they want, and people aren't exactly in a good position to question or challenge it. And then Islam starts spreading into the West, and Dawa guys could basically make up anything. They could say anything they wanted, and because people didn't know anything about Islam, and so they resorted to lying and lying and lying and lying and lying, because that was the easiest way to dupe someone into converting. And then people started learning about Islam, but now they have an empire of lies, and people are attacking the lies with truth and reality and facts. And the Dawa guys are basically in panic mode. You got the guys who want to cling to the traditional and other guys who want to change the approach and stuff like this, and they're all fighting with each other, and it's a tough time for them, guys. It's a tough time for them. Then you have all the chest thumping guys, and then you have the more serious guys who are embarrassed by this, and yeah, it's just that's what happens. That's what happens there. That's why you don't build your empire upon lies, because eventually people catch on and they'll come out there wrecking you. And we're still at the beginning of this, guys. We're at the beginning of all of this, and it's all unraveling. Anyway, fun times. Yeah, I'll be traveling here pretty soon, but we'll see what we have time to squeak in before that, because it's basically if you don't jump on something pretty soon, you might never get back to it, because there's always the new stuff. There's always new stuff coming out. So if we wanted to cover something like the Sheikh Uthman thing or something like that, yeah, we're gonna have to kind of jump on it. But we'll see what happens, everyone. All right, everyone. I should have a video up tomorrow, more on Tucker, because he's saying some seriously messed up stuff. And guys, just so you know, you don't know what I know. Y'all out there, you don't know what I know about things that are happening this month, but going to be a bad month for Dawa. Way more so than what we're seeing right here. About to be a bad month for Dawa. So keep your eyes peeled. You'll know when you see it. Catch you later.